Chapter 1536. On the other hand, the disciples of the Dragon God Valley were very excited. Good job. Isn't the Heavenly God sect arrogant? That's the way to kill them. Lu Ming is invincible. Many people shouted. Qiu Yingying, Qiu Hao, and the others who were close to Lu Ming were so excited that their faces turned red. Previously, many disciples of the Dragon God Valley had been killed. The disciples of the Dragon God Valley had nowhere to vent their anger and frustration. Now, they had vented all their anger. A genius with a superior earth spiritual body was more valuable than all the disciples of the Dragon God Valley combined. The Heavenly God sect had only sent 3 such geniuses to participate in the small meeting. Now, one of them had died. It was a great loss. Trash. Lu Ming said coldly in the fighting ring. He took Bai Mo's storage ring with his hand. Ah, Lu Ming, I'll kill you. You're dead. Some geniuses of the 7th layer martial royal realm and above shouted angrily in the stands. What? Disciples below the 7th layer can't do it. Do you want to fight? The disciples of the 7th layer martial royal realm and above said coldly in the stands. The disciples of the Heavenly God sect looked even more upset. Lu Ming's strength has reached this level? Zi Wuji said in the Heavenly God sect stands. He clenched his fists tightly. Beside him sat Eden and Ji Hongchen. They were all from the continent of godly ruins. A few years ago, they had competed with Lu Ming. Now, Lu Ming had completely surpassed them. The strongest among them was Eden. However, he was only a 2nd layer martial emperor at the moment. Zi Wuji and Ji Hongchen were still stuck at the peak of the 1st layer martial royal realm. Eden and Ji Hongchen had a complicated look on their faces. Zi Wuji, Ji Hongchen, after this meeting, I plan to leave the Heavenly God sect and train myself. What about you two? Eden sent a message to Zi Wuji and Ji Hongchen. The 3 of them were not on good terms in the continent of godly ruins. They were even competitors. However, after coming to the Yuan continent, the 3 of them became closer. After all, they came from the same place. You want to leave the Heavenly God sect? With your current cultivation, it's very dangerous for you to leave the sect and venture outside. Zi Wuji's face changed. Only danger is worth tempering. If I die on the road of tempering myself, I can only blame myself for not being skilled enough. But if we stay in the Heavenly Divine sect, outsiders like us won't be able to receive good training. We'll be no different from odd job workers. We'll never be able to catch up to Lu Ming. Eden seemed to have made up her mind. I'll go with you. Ji Hongchen pondered for a moment before he spoke. Zi Wuji's complexion changed for a while before he grit his teeth and said, I will continue to stay in the Heavenly God sect. All right. Eden nodded. Everyone had their own ambitions, and he would not force them. On the fighting ring, Lu Ming put away the storage ring and returned to platform number 10 in a flash. Lu Ming, well done, haha. Tian Chui laughed loudly. Xuaningxin and Han Sun also smiled. The disciples of the Celestial God sect flew down to the fighting stage and took Bai Mo's body away. The competition continued. Soon, this round ended, and a new round began. It was the Heavenly God sect's turn to challenge again. The leader of the Heavenly God sect glanced coldly at Lu Ming and the others. But in the end, he still sent people to challenge the Peyuan family. They could only endure for now. Now that they had lost a top expert, their strength was greatly reduced. They did not dare to fight with the Dragon God Valley now as they were afraid that they would not be able to enter the top 10. After the Heavenly God sect, the Heavenly Universe Demon sect and the Desire Poison sect followed in the footsteps of the Heavenly God sect to challenge the Peyuan family. When it was the Dragon God Valley's turn, Tian Chui challenged and killed a 6th rank expert. Just like that, a few rounds passed. The first sect to be eliminated was finally born. The Puyuan family was eliminated by the Heavenly God sect, the Heavenly Universe Demon sect, and the Desire Poison sect. Now, there were only 12 sects left. The competition continued. When it was Lu Ming's turn to challenge, he did not challenge the top expert of the other side this time. Instead, he chose a weaker opponent. The competition went on one round after another. The atmosphere became more and more oppressive. The faces of the Heavenly God sect became more and more unpleasant. Every round, the Dragon God Valley would kill one of their sky prides. Those who were selected to participate in the small gathering were the top sky prides. The loss of each of them would cause the Heavenly God sect heartache. But now, they were being killed one after another. When the 19th round ended, the Heavenly God sect only had 16 people left. The losses were beyond imagination. The Dragon God Valley still had 4 people left. At this time, another 2 weaker sects were eliminated. Finally, there were only 10 sects left. These 10 sects were equivalent to obtaining the right to participate in the treasure meeting. When the 20th round began, it was the Heavenly God sect's turn to challenge again. Brother Wu, Brother Mo, it's time to eliminate the Dragon God Valley. The leader of the Heavenly God sect said coldly. His voice was filled with endless coldness. Great, that's what I want. The Heavenly Universe Demon sect's Mo, his eyes were especially cold. I've been waiting for this moment. The Desire Poison sect's Wu Qiandao's eyes were even colder. Poisonous insects crawled out of his body and swam around him. Brother Wang, why don't we work together to eliminate the Dragon God Valley? The leader of the Heavenly God sect looked at the leader of the 9 Heaven Sword sect. The 9 Heaven Sword sect had a good relationship with the Heavenly God sect. On the contrary, they didn't have a good relationship with the Dragon God Valley. He wanted the 9 Heaven Sword sect to deal with Lu Ming and the others. The eyes of the 9 Heaven Sword sect's leader flickered as he looked in the direction of the Dragon God Valley. He said with a hint of fear, I won't get involved in your business. He didn't want to get involved in the conflict between the Heavenly God sect, Heavenly Universe Demon sect, Desire Poison sect and the Dragon God Valley. Moreover, the Dragon God Valley wasn't easy to deal with. Humph. The leader of the Heavenly God sect's face darkened when he heard the 9 Heaven Sword sect's rejection. Hey, are you guys going to challenge us or not? Stop wasting time. Tian Chui carried his hammer and looked at the Heavenly God sect's direction. Since you guys are in a hurry to die, I'll fulfill your wish. Luanying, you're up. The leader of the Heavenly God sect said to a black-robed figure. I've been waiting for this moment. The black-robed figure said coldly, causing the hearts of many Heavenly God sect's disciples to tremble. They were well aware of how terrifying the black-robed chaos shadows was. Whoosh! A shadow flashed and Luanying appeared on the fighting stage. Many of the weaker ones didn't even see how he appeared on the fighting stage. You, come down. A pair of cold eyes stared at Tian Chui from within the black robe and said coldly. Huh, it's finally my turn. Tian Chui laughed. Tian Chui, you have to be careful. This person is one of the 3 superior earthly spiritual bodies of the Heavenly God sect. He specializes in assassination techniques. Han Sun warned with a serious expression. Don't worry. No matter what he's good at, I'll crush him with my hammer. Chapter 1537. Boom! Tian Chui, carrying a huge hammer the size of a water tank, rushed towards the battle stage like an iron tower, and landed on the battle stage, causing the entire stage to rumble. Shorty, let Grandpa Sky Hammer's hammer take care of you. Sky Hammer brandished his water tank-like hammer, revealing a malevolent killing intent. Die! At this moment, Luanying moved. His body was like a shadow as he suddenly appeared in front of Sky Hammer. A thin and long sword stabbed toward Sky Hammer's heart. Fast, accurate, and ruthless. He was like a trained assassin. Boom! Sky Hammer stomped on the ground and quickly retreated. Then, he used his huge hammer to block in front of him. Clang! Wan Ying's sword hit Sky Hammer's hammer and bounced back. Wan Ying used the force of the rebound to appear above Sky Hammer's head. A terrifying sword light stabbed towards Sky Hammer's head. Scram! Sky Hammer roared and smashed his hammer towards Wan Ying's head. The hammer smashed down, creating a terrifying gust of wind that caused the sky to rumble. Clang! The hammer hit Wan Ying's sword. However, Wan Ying's body seemed to be weightless. He could appear wherever he wanted. Shwa! In the next moment, Wan Ying's body appeared behind Sky Hammer and stabbed out with his sword. Sky Hammer used his huge hammer to block Wan Ying's attack. However, Wan Ying's movement technique was too fast. He constantly moved around Sky Hammer's body. His sword was like a poisonous snake, aiming for Sky Hammer's vital points every time. Shadow Domain. On the stage, Lu Ming's eyebrows slightly furrowed. Wan Ying had comprehended the Shadow Domain. He moved like a shadow and cultivated the assassination sword Dao. His perfect combination made him shockingly powerful. He could usually kill cultivators stronger than him in one hit. It was obvious that the opponent had arranged for Wan Ying to challenge Sky Hammer. Wan Ying could counter Sky Hammer and prevent him from using his brute force. Scram, scram, scram. Sky Hammer became more and more furious. He kept smashing his huge hammer, creating a terrifying gust of wind that swept in all directions. Whoosh! Suddenly, a sword light stabbed out from under Sky Hammer's feet. This sword came without any warning, and it was inconceivably fast. This sword was actually thrust out from the Heavenly Hammer's own shadow. This exceeded everyone's expectations. Not good. Han Sun and Xuanixin exclaimed in shock. Roar! Tian Chui seemed to have also sensed the terrifying danger. With a roar, the muscles on his body squirmed and a layer of dragon scales appeared on the surface of his skin. At the same time, Tian Chui retreated rapidly to avoid the sword. Puff! The sword light continued to sweep across Tian Chui's leg. The dragon scales were cut open, revealing a deep wound. If Tian Chui had not reacted in time, one of his legs would have been chopped off. Whoosh! However, at this moment, under Tian Chui's feet, another sword light pierced towards Tian Chui from his own shadow. What a strange attack! Kill! Sky Hammer roared as the massive hammer in his hand smashed down heavily on his own shadow. Boom! The giant hammer directly smashed the sword light and smashed heavily on the shadow of the battle platform. The entire fighting ring shook violently. Not far away, Wan Ying's body trembled and he took a few steps back. It seemed that Sky Hammer's attack had hurt him. Whoosh! Next, Wan Ying's body flashed and disappeared. At this time, 8 more shadows appeared around the hammer. Every time the shadows appeared, a sword light would shoot out towards the hammer. Tian Chui used his massive hammer to block the enemy's attack. However, the attacks from all directions were too fast for Tian Chui to block all of them. Puff! Puff! After a while, a few wounds appeared on Tian Chui's body. They were so deep that his bones could be seen. Senior brother Wan Ying is going to win. A disciple from the Celestial God sect sneered. On the other hand, everyone from Dragon God Valley was watching carefully with a dark face. Barbaric Dragon Strike. Suddenly, Tian Chui roared. He grabbed the handle of his massive hammer with both hands and swung it. His entire body spun rapidly. The handle of Tian Chui's hammer was extremely long. When he swung it, it was like a hurricane sweeping in all directions. Bam! 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 The 8 shadows could not dodge at all. When they were swept by the hammer, they all collapsed. The 8 shadows collapsed and reformed into a single shadow. It was Luan Ying's shadow. At this moment, the black robe on Luan Ying's head was destroyed, revealing a dark and gloomy face. A trace of blood could be seen at the corner of his mouth. It was obvious that he was also injured by Tian Chui's attack. Shadow sword, kill. A low voice came from Luan Ying's mouth. His body slowly became blurry and turned into a shadow. In the end, the shadow also disappeared. Luan Ying seemed to have completely disappeared from the fighting stage. Even his aura could not be sensed. A shadow-type spiritual body. Lu Ming's eyes flashed. Whoosh! At this moment, a sword light pierced towards Tian Chui from the top of his head. Tian Chui swung his hammer upwards. However, at the same time, a sword light pierced towards Tian Chui's feet, left and right. Tian Chui roared angrily and quickly retreated to avoid the sword light. However, a sword light still left a sword wound on Tian Chui's body. Around the heavenly hammer, sword light constantly appeared, soundless and without any signs. Barbaric Dragon Strike. Tian Chui roared and used the same move again. He swung his giant hammer and spun it wildly. However, this time, the sword light did not disperse. Instead, it pierced through Tian Chui's attack and continued to stab towards him. Puff! Puff! A few more wounds appeared on Tian Chui's body. What's going on? Why can't we attack him? Some disciples of the Dragon God Valley asked anxiously. Tian Chui's attack was too strange. Tian Chui's attack could not hit him. It's not that he can't hit him. It's just that he can turn into a shadow, which can greatly reduce the damage done to him. Tian Chui's attack was weakened and it landed on his body. At the same time, he's too fast. Most of the attacks were dodged by him. A genius of the rank 9 Martial King realm explained on the spectator stand. Roar! Tian Chui let out a dragon roar. He took a step forward and rushed to the side of the fighting stage. It seemed that he was going to rush down the fighting stage. If you want to rush to the fighting stage, stay here. Luan Ying's cold voice came from the sky. Tian Chui pretended not to hear it and continued to rush forward. Whoosh! A terrifying sword light pierced towards Tian Chui from behind. Tian Chui, who was rushing forward, suddenly stopped and turned around. Puchi! The sword light pierced through Tian Chui's chest. Blood splattered everywhere. Die! A cold voice sounded. Luan Ying's figure appeared in front of Tian Chui. Roar! At this moment, Tian Chui let out a dragon roar. A giant barbaric dragon shadow appeared on his body. The barbaric dragon shadow clawed at Luan Ying. Oh no! Chapter 1538. Bam! The barbaric dragon clawed at Luan Ying's body. Luan Ying groaned as he was sent flying, spitting out blood. Kill! Tian Chui roared as he hurled the huge hammer in his hand. Like a meteor, it smashed into Luan Ying, who was in the air. Luan Ying screamed as his body was sent flying. The giant hammer carried Luan Ying out of the stage and landed heavily on the ground. Luan Ying spat out blood, his face as pale as paper. Luan Ying lost because Tian Chui was still on the stage. Whoosh! The giant hammer flew back to the stage and landed in Tian Chui's hand. Puff! Tian Chui's body shook as he spat out a mouthful of blood. Although he had defeated Luan Ying, he was heavily injured as well. Senior brother Tian Chui, come up and treat your injuries. Lu Ming shouted. Tian Chui channeled his true yuan and rushed up to the stage. He sat down cross-legged and started to treat his injuries. Just now, he had been injured by Luan Ying's sword multiple times. In the end, the sword had pierced through his heart. The terrifying destruction sword Qi was constantly destroying Tian Chui's spiritual body. Tian Chui had to destroy the destruction sword Qi first before he could heal. Damn it! The leader of the Heavenly God sect shouted angrily on the stage. Originally, he thought that with Luan Ying's strength and the fact that he could counter Tian Chui, he would be able to defeat Tian Chui. Although he might not be able to kill Tian Chui, defeating him shouldn't be a problem. He didn't think that Tian Chui would defeat Luan Ying in a way where both sides were injured. His plan was foiled. As a result, 2 of the 3 top experts of the Heavenly God sect had been defeated. Only the leader was left. This made the faces of the Heavenly God sect very ugly. The Heavenly Divinity sect had already announced that they would also take first place in the Treasure Ding Ding Party and achieve 3 consecutive championships. But now, there was only one top expert left, the leader. The other 6th-level experts had almost all been killed, so there was no chance for them to take first place. This was all because of the Dragon God Valley. They wanted to deal with the Dragon God Valley, but in the end, they got themselves into trouble. Before the competition started, the Heavenly God sect probably didn't expect this. I'll leave the rest to you guys. The leader of the Heavenly God sect looked at the Sky Demon sect. Whoosh! A figure rushed out from the Sky Universe Demon sect, carrying a demon saber on his back. It's Mo Xian. Someone recognized this person. There were 2 geniuses from the Sky Universe Demon sect who had reached the peak of the 6th-layer martial royal realm with a superior earth spiritual body. One of them was Mo, and the other was Ma Xian. Mo Xian looked at Xuanixin and said, "I challenge you." Many people were shocked. Indeed, the Celestial sect, the Empyrean Demon sect and the Poison sect had sent out their strongest forces to deal with the Dragon God Valley. Xuanixin stepped onto the fighting ring. Kill! The demonic saber was unsheathed, and demonic energy soared to the sky. Roar! Xuanixin revealed her true form and turned into a snow dragon. The 2 sides clashed fiercely. This battle was different from the one between Sky Hammer and Luan Ying. This battle was a head-on clash, and it was exceptionally fierce. Xuanixin was a pure-blooded true dragon, and she was considered a genius even among true dragons. Her dragon body was as strong as a superior earth spiritual body, and she was evenly matched with Mo Xian. The 2 sides exchanged more than 200 blows, and in the end, Xuanixin won by a little and knocked Mo Xian off the fighting ring. However, Xuanixin was severely injured, and her injuries were even worse than Sky Hammer's. Xuanixin dragged her injured body back to the fighting ring and began to heal. The Dragon God Valley had won another battle, defeating a top expert from the Sky Universe Demon sect. Could it be that the Dragon God Valley was going to be the last one? Some people had such thoughts. The challenges continued, and soon, it was the Poison sect's turn. Whoosh! Wu Qiandu of the Poison sect stood up and stepped onto the fighting ring. The Poison sect also had 2 top experts. Wu Qiandu was the leader of the Poison sect, and he was going to fight personally this time. Wu Qiandu's gaze shifted between Han Sun and Lu Ming. According to the rules, Sky Hammer and Xuanixin had just fought, so they couldn't challenge them now. Only by challenging Lu Ming and Han Sun could they challenge Sky Hammer and Xuanixin. In the end, Wu Qiandu's gaze landed on Lu Ming. Lu Ming, you managed to escape with your sacred weapon the last time. Now, come down and accept your death. Wu Qiandu said coldly. Last time, Lu Ming had used his black wings to create a gust of wind that rendered his poison gas useless. Now that he couldn't use his sacred weapon, he wanted to see how Lu Ming would defend against his poison gas. Another one who wants to die. Lu Ming smiled indifferently. He took a step forward and landed on the fighting ring. Wang. As soon as Lu Ming's feet landed, Wu Qiandu took action. Densely packed poisonous insects swarmed toward Lu Ming, covering the sky and the sun like a mass of dark clouds. Wang. Lu Ming's chaotic domain spread out and shrouded the endless poisonous insects. Fire. Lu Ming whispered and the chaotic domain turned into a flame domain. The flames engulfed the insects, and sizzling sounds could be heard as the insects were burned to ashes. But at this time, Wu Qiandu waved his hand and toads appeared. Each toad was covered in pustules and emitted a foul smell. They pounced toward Lu Ming. In the air, the toads spat out poisonous water that enveloped Lu Ming. When the poisonous water landed on the chaotic domain, it actually emitted a sizzling sound of corrosion. Kill. At the same time, Wu Qiandu charged toward Lu Ming. A soft whip appeared in his hand. The whip was covered with poisonous thorns and it swept toward Lu Ming. Boom! Boom! Lu Ming used the hell-suppressing heaven skill and punched out continuously, bombarding the toads and soft whips. However, when Lu Ming's fist force bombarded those toads, they actually self-exploded and turned into a pool of thick water that gushed toward Lu Ming, emitting a disgusting stench. Once he smelled this stench, Lu Ming felt slightly dizzy. Circulating his true yuan, he regained consciousness. What a terrifying poison! Lu Ming thought. Shua! Shua! Poisonous insects kept gushing out of Wu Qiandu's body. Next, there were toads and poisonous snakes that attacked Lu Ming. As for himself, he controlled the soft whip and was extremely agile as he whipped Lu Ming. Kill! Lu Ming suddenly shouted and used the divine sword art. Two black sword lights burst out from Lu Ming's eyes and rushed toward Wu Qiandu. But at this time, a layer of poisonous insects appeared on the surface of Wu Qiandu's body, forming a shield. The divine sword art attacked the poisonous insects and killed a large number of them, but Wu Qiandu was unharmed. Soul attacks can ignore ordinary defenses and attack the soul. However, these insects of mine have spirits. With spirits, your soul attacks won't be able to penetrate them. Last time, you used it once. This time, I'm prepared. Hee hee. Wu Qiandu sneered. It seems that soul attacks are not omnipotent. There are still weaknesses. Chapter 1539. Soul attacks were something that ordinary defenses would not be able to defend against, and they would be able to pierce right through. When facing the evil spirit Sex Elder Mo Hun, Lu Ming's primal chaos domain and bubble spacetime domain could only weaken a portion of the attack. One could imagine that normal defenses would be useless. However, soul attacks also had their weaknesses. If a living being stood in front of them, the soul attack would not be able to pass through. For example, Wu Qiandu had used poisonous insects to block in front of him. Although the poisonous insects were small, they were still sentient and had souls. Soul attacks would attack the poisonous insects, and Wu Qiandu, who was behind the poisonous insects, was naturally unharmed. He dared to challenge Lu Ming because he had a foolproof plan. However, Lu Ming's expression was still calm. If soul attacks were useless, would Lu Ming not be able to deal with Wu Qiandu? Whoosh! Lu Ming covered his body with the primal chaos domain and soared into the sky. Boom! 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 Following which, Lu Ming looked down from a high vantage point and threw continuous punches with his fists. Streaks of terrifying fist energy shot out like meteors towards Wu Qiandu, the poisonous insects, and the poisonous snakes. A large number of poisonous insects and toads were killed. The battle stage was littered with the corpses of insects, toads, and snakes. Pools of venom covered the battle stage, emitting a disgusting stench. Wisps of poisonous gas filled the battle stage. Lu Ming, thank you for your cooperation. The poison array has been set up. Now, you can die. On the battle stage, Wu Qiandu smiled coldly. Green poisonous gas spread out from his body and merged with the poisonous gas on the battle stage. The entire battle stage was shrouded in poisonous gas. 1,000 poison hands. Wu Qiandu said coldly. The poisonous gas rolled and turned into poisonous palms that shot toward Lu Ming in the sky. Lu Ming used the wind origin technique to avoid the poisonous palms. In that case, I'll kill you first. In Lu Ming's hand, a Spirit King spear appeared. He became one with the spear and dived down, charging into the poison gas array and attacking Wu Qiandu. You can't kill me. Wu Qiandu let out a cold laugh. With a bang, his body exploded and turned into clouds of poisonous gas, which merged with the poisonous gas of the formation. Lu Ming's long spear swept out horizontally, the poisonous gas tumbling endlessly. Kill! Lu Ming roared, and a formless soul attack erupted. However, there were countless poisonous insects flying within the poisonous gas. Lu Ming shouted, and a group of poisonous insects fell to the ground. Hee, Lu Ming, you can't hurt me at all. You can only passively let me kill you. Wu Qiandu's proud voice rang out. The poison gas array churned, constantly surging towards Lu Ming. The terrifying poison gas enveloped Lu Ming, as if it wanted to corrode the primal chaos domain and then turn Lu Ming to ashes. Moreover, the poison gas would condense into attacks and attack Lu Ming. The long spear vibrated, destroying the attacks one by one. Lu Ming, rush down the fighting stage yourself, or be killed by me. Wu Qiandu's cold voice rang out. You think too highly of yourself. Lu Ming said indifferently. If Lu Ming wanted to kill Wu Qiandu, he could do it now. He just needed to cast the chaotic flipping sky seal. The terrifying power of the chaotic flipping sky seal could directly cover the entire fighting ring. He could easily destroy this array and even kill Wu Qiandu. However, now was not the time to use the primal chaos flipping sky seal. Lu Ming wanted to save the primal chaos flipping sky seal to deal with the leader of the celestial god sect, or Mohe. If he did not use the primal chaos flipping sky seal, he would have to use other methods. Buzz! Lu Ming's primal chaos domain suddenly spread out, enveloping the entire fighting stage. Then, endless lightning appeared and filled the fighting stage, followed by flames. The entire fighting stage was enveloped by the power of lightning and fire. Chi, poisonous insects were burned to death one by one. Kill! Kill! Lu Ming continued to roar as he used the divine sword art, forming invisible waves that rushed out in all directions. A large number of poisonous insects were killed and turned into ashes in the lightning and fire. I don't believe that your soul power can keep on erupting. Wu Qiandu's voice rang out. There was a limit to a person's spiritual strength. Constantly using it would consume a lot of spiritual strength. However, after a while, Wu Qiandu became nervous. Lu Ming still did not stop. His soul attack continued to erupt, killing almost all of the poisonous insects. Kill! Lu Ming roared as the poisonous gas churned and Wu Qiandu's screams rang out. A cloud of mist gathered and churned, as if it was about to condense into a human form. Devour! Lu Ming took a step forward and pressed his left palm in the air. The devouring power erupted and enveloped the poisonous gas. Wisps of poisonous gas were devoured and refined by Lu Ming. The poisonous gas was terrifying. However, Lu Ming's spiritual body had reached the superior earth spiritual body. Moreover, Lu Ming's spiritual body contained traces of primal chaos qi, which was stronger than an ordinary superior earth spiritual body. Hence, he was not afraid of the poisonous gas. Roar! Lu Ming's body faintly rang out with a dragon's roar. Wu Qiandu's poisonous gas was being refined continuously. How can this be? My spiritual body is invincible. How can you refine it? Wu Qiandu's terrified screams rang out from the poisonous gas as he desperately resisted. Kill! Lu Ming roared as 2 rays of sword light shot out from his eyes and pierced into the poisonous gas. Wu Qiandu screamed and his resistance weakened instantly. Lu Ming continued to erupt with his devouring power, devouring and refining Wu Qiandu's poisonous gas. As Wu Qiandu screamed, the poisonous gas became smaller and smaller. He wanted to reform his body, but Lu Ming directly attacked. With a punch, he turned back into poisonous gas and was devoured by Lu Ming. Soon, Wu Qiandu's poisonous gas was reduced by more than half. Spare me, spare me. Wu Qiandu was finally afraid and began to beg for mercy. This feeling of watching himself being refined made him extremely terrified. Moreover, he did not want to die. He had a great future. With his talent, he was very confident that he could break through to the Saint Realm in the future. A Saint Realm expert had a lifespan of more than 100,000 years. How free and unfettered was that? The people from the 13 sects were shocked. Wu Qiandu was actually forced to this step by Lu Ming. In the eyes of these geniuses, Wu Qiandu was definitely a terrifying existence. His 1,000-bathing poison body and his poisonous body made everyone wary. Even those geniuses who were at the same level as him were extremely wary of him. But now, he was begging for mercy in front of Lu Ming. Spare you? Previously, you sent people from the Desire Poison sect to kill my disciples. Why didn't you spare them? Why didn't you think about the current situation? Lu Ming said coldly as his devouring power continued to devour Wu Qiandu. Wu Qiandu screamed as his poisonous gas churned. Before the battle with Lu Ming, how could he have thought of such an outcome? All he thought about was how to kill Lu Ming. Chapter 1540. Young man, don't go overboard. Don't go overboard. At this moment, an old voice came from one of the pavilions. Judging from the direction of the voice, it should be the Saint State Elder of the Desire Poison sect. Hee, are you heartbroken? Why didn't you think about it when you killed my disciple? Lu Ming, you don't have to pay attention to this old man. The voice of the Saint State Elder of the Dragon God Valley came from the pavilion behind the Dragon God Valley. Young man, you should think about it. After all, you'll be traveling outside in the future. It's not good to go overboard. The Saint State Elder of the Desire Poison sect continued. Despicable. How dare you threaten my disciple? The Saint State Elder of the Dragon God Valley said. Hee. The Saint State Elder of the Desire Poison sect sneered. Kill. However, Lu Ming's response was only one word, kill. Lu Ming's eyes emitted 2 beams of sword gleams that pierced into the poisonous gas. Wu Qiandu screamed miserably. The ball of poisonous gas completely collapsed and there was no sign of life left. Wu Qiandu was dead. This was Lu Ming's response to the Saint State Elder of the Desire Poison sect. He was strong and merciless. At this moment, there was no sound from the pavilion behind the Desire Poison sect, but a cold murderous intent filled the air. Of course, the Saint State Elders were not allowed to interfere in this situation. Otherwise, the other sects would gang up on them. Dead. Wu Qiandu was dead. Most of the people present felt their hearts tremble. Another top-notch prodigy was killed by Lu Ming. In addition to Bai Mo, there were already 2 top-notch prodigies who had died in Lu Ming's hands. It was too tragic. In the past, very few top-earth spiritual bodies were killed. Even if there was a difference in combat power, it wouldn't be too big. It was possible to defeat them, but difficult to kill them. This time, it was only the 20th round, but 2 top prodigies had already died and several others were seriously injured. Because of Lu Ming, the small meeting this time was several times more tragic than the past. Lu Ming put away Wu Qiandu's storage ring and returned to the platform. Then, someone went up to the fighting ring and cleaned it up. After all, the poisonous insects and snakes that Wu Qiandu had released earlier were all poisonous substances on the battle stage. On the platform of the Celestial God Sect, the leader of the Celestial God Sect looked at Tian Chui and Xuanixin coldly. This guy wants to challenge Tian Chui and Xuanixin in the next round. Lu Ming said. Right now, Tian Chui and Xuanixin were both heavily injured. If the leader of the Sky God Sect challenged them, it would be very dangerous. The leader of the Sky God Sect obviously wanted to seize the opportunity to kill Tian Chui or Xuanixin. I won't let him succeed. Han Sun spoke, his killing intent cold. After cleaning up, the competition continued. Perhaps the atmosphere had been stirred up, but when it was the turn of the other sects, the atmosphere became even more intense. The other sects that had enmity with each other also began to send out their top experts to challenge the top experts of their enemy sections. After the battle between Lu Ming and Wu Qiandu, there were two more clashes between the top experts. In the end, the top geniuses of the Intentionless Saber sect and the Demon Castle both suffered heavy injuries and fell off the fighting ring. On the other hand, the top expert of the Linglong Palace defeated his opponent and won despite being heavily injured. Soon, it was the Divine Dragon Valley's turn. Han Sun stood up and stepped out onto the fighting ring. Yu Sheng, come down. Han Sun said coldly. Yu Sheng was the name of the leader of the Sky God Sect. Everyone was shocked. Han Sun was challenging Yu Sheng. The leaders of the two sects were about to clash. Yu Sheng's eyes turned cold. His original plan was to wait until the next round, when it was the Sky God Sect's turn to challenge, and then he would personally kill Tian Chui or Xuanixin. Obviously, Han Sun had seen through his plan and challenged him directly. Yu Sheng stepped out and landed on the fighting ring. It's the same if I kill you first. Yu Sheng said coldly. His body erupted with dazzling holy light. His entire person was bathed in the holy light, and there was no speck of dust. Yu Sheng was a direct descendant of the Sky God Sect, and he cultivated the Sky God Sect's techniques. Shameless boasting. Han Sun sneered, and a terrifying cold air burst out from his body. The cold air spread in all directions, and half of the fighting ring was covered in white frost. Boom! Boom! Yu Sheng and Han Sun charged at each other at the same time, and a fierce battle broke out. The two figures clashed continuously on the fighting ring, and their speed became faster and faster. Some of the weaker cultivators could no longer see the two figures clearly. They could only see the endless sacred light and the terrifying cold air on the fighting ring, forming a pillar of qi that shot up into the sky. Whoosh! Yu Sheng was bathed in the sacred light, and he held the god's punishment spear in his hand. He was like a god descending to punish the world. White dragon scales appeared on Han Sun's body, and his body was covered in a layer of ice armor. His arms turned into dragon claws, and they were terrifying. Clang! Clang! The dragon claws and the god's punishment spear clashed fiercely. Puchi! Han Sun's shoulder was pierced by the god's punishment spear, but Han Sun's other dragon claw clawed at Yu Sheng's chest, almost tearing his heart out. The two of them were injured at the same time, and their clothes were stained with blood. But the battle continued. To be honest, Han Sun and Yu Sheng's combat strength was terrifying, and they were even stronger than Bai Mo's. It could be said that in the future, they were very likely to be ranked among the top 10 geniuses of the Tsang state. After all, the top 10 geniuses were chosen by the younger generation below the Saint Realm. Once this year's top 10 geniuses broke into the Saint Realm, they would automatically be removed from the top 10 geniuses, and new geniuses would replace them. It could be said that these two geniuses of the future were fighting in advance. This battle went on for more than 300 moves, and their genuine essence and physical strength were gradually exhausted. In the end, it became a hand-to-hand fight. The two of them tangled together, and blood stained the fighting ring. Bang! In the end, the two of them rolled off the fighting ring at the same time, and the battle ended. Lu Ming moved and appeared beside Han Sun. His genuine essence flowed into Han Sun's body, and he said, "Senior brother Han Sun, are you okay?" "Don't worry, I'm fine." "That guy is worse." Han Sun smiled. "Humph." Yusheng snorted, and with the help of the disciples of the Celestial God sect, he landed on the spectator stand, took a healing pill, and began to heal. Lu Ming helped Han Sun to the spectator stand behind the fighting ring, and then returned to the fighting ring. In this way, there were only 3 people left in the Dragon God Valley. However, the people of the Celestial God sect all looked gloomy. After Yusheng's withdrawal, the Celestial God sect no longer had any top experts, and it was a joke to get first place. The battle continued, and soon, this round was over, and the 22nd round began. In this round, the remaining disciples of the Celestial God sect had lost their morale, and they randomly sent out one person to challenge the other sections. After that, it was the turn of the Sky Universe Demon sect. "Let me." He from the Sky Universe Demon sect stepped out with a demonic blade on his back. He landed on the fighting ring and looked directly at the Dragon God Valley. He glanced at Tian Chui and Xuanixin. Chapter 1541. He obviously wanted to challenge Tian Chui and Xuanixin. In the end, He's eyes fell on Xuanixin and said coldly, "Come out. Fight." Xuanixin said and stepped forward. "Senior sister, be careful," Lu Ming said. Xuanixin nodded and stepped onto the battle stage. "I'll kill you in this battle." He's demonic aura surged as the demonic saber on his back unsheathed and slashed toward Xuanixin. Roar! Xuanixin roared and turned into her true form. She opened her mouth and spat out a stream of icy air toward the saber. Boom! An intense collision occurred, and Xuanixin's slender body trembled as she retreated. Xuanixin had been severely injured in the previous battle, and it was impossible for her to recover in such a short time. She was at a disadvantage from the start. Demonic Saber Division. The demonic saber in He's hand merged with his domain and slashed out again. The demonic saber division was the ultimate technique of the Sky Universe demonic sect. It was said to be able to split everything with a single slash. Snowflakes appeared around Xuanixin and flew toward the demonic splitting saber with a whistling sound. But when the snowflakes came into contact with the demonic saber division, they seemed to be affected by a terrifying vibration and exploded. Clang! 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 The snowflakes collided with the demonic saber, and the sound of metal clashing rang out. The snowflakes collapsed, but the power of the demonic saber was also rapidly weakening. Slash! He's demonic aura surged as he slashed out again. Then, he slashed out again. One slash after another, and each slash was extremely terrifying. It was as if they were going to split the sky. Xuanixin's dragon claws stepped on the air and pounced toward He. Boom! Boom! Terrifying explosions were constantly heard as the two of them exchanged more than 10 blows. Gradually, Xuanixin was losing. Her injuries were acting up, and she couldn't use her full strength. Puchi! Dragon scales were cut and fell everywhere. Deep and long wounds appeared on Xuanixin's body, and blood dyed her snow-white body red. Die! He's devil saber pierced through Xuanixin's attack and slashed at her head, trying to decapitate her. Xuanixin retreated quickly, but it was still too late. A wound was left between her eyebrows. Xuanixin was already heavily injured, and now that she was injured, her battle prowess was getting weaker and weaker. She was no match for He. Senior sister, get off the battle stage. Lu Ming said to Xuaningxin telepathically. If this went on, Xuaningxin would be in danger. Roar! Xuaningxin shouted. She was unwilling to give up. After exchanging another blow with Emohi, she turned around and left. You want to leave? Stay. Emohi's demonic chi became even more terrifying. She soared into the sky and slashed out with her demonic saber. 8 saber lights slashed down, blocking Xuaningxin's path. Xuaningxin's dragon claws stomped on the ground, and the ground was instantly covered in a layer of ice. Ice swords rushed out and rushed towards the demonic sabers. Bang! Bang! Unfortunately, Xuaningxin's battle prowess was too weak to break through the demonic sabers. Instead, the demonic sabers left a deep wound on her body, almost cutting off one of her dragon claws. You can't escape. Demonic dragon seal. Mo, he said coldly. His hands formed a seal, and a black demonic dragon roared and flew towards Xuaningxin. The 2 dragons, one black and one white, fought on the battle stage. Then, Mo, he split the demonic saber and attacked Xuaningxin. After a few moves, Xuaningxin's injuries were even more severe. Break! In the end, Xuaningxin roared. Her true dragon body shrank rapidly, and a layer of ice covered her body, making her look like an ice sword. Whoosh! The ice sword kept colliding with Mo's demonic saber. Finally, it rushed out of the range of the demonic saber and reached the edge of the battle stage. At this time, the ice covering Xuaningxin's body also collapsed. Xuaningxin's aura became even weaker. She stomped her dragon claws and rushed out of the battle stage. She let out a sigh of relief and quickly withdrew her aura. Die! Mo, he roared and stood at the edge of the battle stage. His eyes were ferocious and filled with cold killing intent. He slashed his demonic saber at Xuaningxin's head. Xuaningxin's fall meant that the battle was over, so she completely let down her guard and withdrew her true yuan. She didn't expect Mo to be so despicable and attack her again. Xuaningxin didn't have time to dodge this attack. You're courting death. On the platform, Lu Ming let out a roar and his true essence boiled. The black wings on his back suddenly extended. With a flap, he appeared next to Xuaningxin and flapped the demonic saber. Lu Ming, what are you doing? You interfered and used a saint weapon. You broke the rules. Seeing that his saber had been blocked by Lu Ming, there was a look of indignation in Mo's eyes. Shut up. Who broke the rules? My senior sister has already rushed out of the battle stage and landed on the ground. She lost. This battle is over, but you still want to kill her. Are you the one who broke the rules, or am I the one who broke the rules? Lu Ming stared coldly at Mo. If he hadn't been watching the battle stage and immediately used a saint weapon to rush out, Xuaningxin would have been in danger. Oh. Her foot landed on the ground? I didn't see it. Mo, he quibbled. Lu Ming didn't say anything. He only stared at Mo with cold killing intent. He had to kill this Mo. Senior sister, let's go. Lu Ming helped Xuaningxin to the spectator stand. Junior brother, thank you for just now. Xuaningxin had returned to her human form, but her face was somewhat pale. Senior sister, there's no need to be so polite. I will kill Mo to avenge you. Lu Ming said. I believe in junior brother. Xuaningxin smiled. She swallowed a healing elixir and began to recuperate while Lu Ming returned to the platform. The challenges continued. As expected, when it was the Desire Poison sect's turn, an expert from the Desire Poison sect challenged Tian Chui. Like the Sky Demon sect, the Desire Poison sect also had 2 top experts. Wu Qiandu had been killed by Lu Ming, so there was only one left. The Desire Poison sect hated Lu Ming to the core and wanted to kill Tian Chui to avenge Wu Qiandu. However, Tian Chui's injuries were better than Xuanixin's. Moreover, Tian Chui cultivated the barbarian dragon body, so his defense was strong. However, Tian Chui was injured and couldn't defeat his opponent. After exchanging more than 100 blows, he was knocked off the stage. With Tian Chui's defeat, only Lu Ming was left in the Dragon God Valley. Countless gazes landed on the platform of the Divine Dragon Valley and on Lu Ming alone. Chapter 1542. The challenges continued, and they were very intense. Now, the competition had entered the second half, and the weak had been eliminated. The remaining people were all very strong, and the battles were very intense. One battle after another, it was finally Dragon God Valley's turn. Lu Ming stepped out and landed on the fighting stage. He, come down and die. Lu Ming's voice resounded throughout the area. As expected, Lu Ming is going to challenge He. In many people's hearts, He had violated the rules earlier and almost killed Xuanixin. Many people guessed that Lu Ming would definitely challenge He. He carried the demonic saber on his back and stepped onto the fighting stage. You've managed to escape the previous 2 times. Today, I'll finish you off. He spoke. Even though Lu Ming had already killed 2 top-notch powerhouses, he was still very domineering. Today, you won't have any chance. You will die without a doubt. Lu Ming said, and he was also very strong. Buzz. Buzz. The two stood facing each other, and their domains burst out at the same time, rushing toward each other. Boom. Their domains collided with each other, and there was a loud rumbling sound. They were fiercely fighting. He's demonic Dao domain was at the peak of LV7, while Lu Ming's domain was only at the peak of LV4. However, Lu Ming's domain was not at a disadvantage at all. Their domains continued to clash and entangle with each other, stirring up a terrifying energy storm. Kill, Demonic Saber Division. He shouted and unsheathed his demonic saber. A shocking saber light broke through the sky and slashed toward Lu Ming. A long spear appeared in Lu Ming's hand, and he used the 13th strike. A spear light burst out and collided with the demonic saber. There were 13 forces in the spear light, and they exploded with a terrible penetrating power. However, there was a terrible splitting power in the demonic saber that was rapidly splitting the spear light's power. In the end, the 2 forces dissipated. Lu Ming's eyes moved slightly. The demonic saber of the Sky Universe Demon sect was indeed worthy of its reputation. Whoosh! Whoosh! Then, the 2 of them rushed forward and collided with each other like 2 bolts of lightning. The demonic saber and the long spear collided with each other, emitting a terrifying roar. Every time the 2 of them collided, a terrifying shockwave would erupt. The shockwave was rampant and swept out in all directions. Around the fighting stage, there was a transparent light screen that blocked the overflowing chi. Otherwise, some of the weaker people in the spectator stands would have been injured. Kill. After exchanging several moves, Lu Ming roared. 2 divine swords shot out of his eyes, shooting toward He. Lu Ming used the divine sword art, and 2 pitch-black swords entered He's body and attacked his spiritual divinity. However, Mo's body only trembled slightly, and he was fine. A spiritual god defensive treasure. Lu Ming's eyes narrowed slightly. Your soul attack is useless against me. He sneered. His demonic saber swept out, taking advantage of this opportunity to attack Lu Ming. Wang! Lu Ming's long spear shook, blocking the Devil Blade's attack. Then, the 2 of them clashed again, exchanging dozens of moves. In truth, He was indeed very strong. He was even stronger than Mo and Wu Qiandu, who Lu Ming had just killed. He should be comparable to Han Sun, the leader of the celestial god sect. Lu Ming's spiritual body and primal chaos domain gave him a slight advantage. However, Mohe's cultivation was 2 levels higher than Lu Ming's. The two of them fought fiercely, and it was difficult to determine a victor. Third bloodline. With a thought, Lu Ming's third bloodline appeared. A strand of energy entered Lu Ming's body, increasing Lu Ming's combat strength. Clang! Lu Ming's long spear swept out, and Mohe's body trembled. He was forced back a long distance along the fighting stage. Divine Gate, 9 seals. Lu Ming's hands quickly formed seals, and 6 sealing gates appeared around Mohe, wanting to seal him. Demon God descends. Mohe roared. Demonic chi surged, and a huge demon god with 3 heads and 6 arms condensed around him. It exuded a vast demonic aura. This was a secret technique, or rather, it was a secret technique brought by Mohe's spiritual body. It was very similar to Bai Mo's sword array. They were both secret techniques brought by spiritual bodies. Boom! The 3-headed, 6-armed demon god blasted out 6 palms, bombarding the 6 sealing gates. Boom! Boom! The 6 sealed doors trembled and directly exploded. At this time, Lu Ming's attack had arrived. The long spear smashed towards Mohe like a mountain. Boom! Boom! The 3-headed, 6-armed demon god's 6 giant palms bombarded Lu Ming. 2 of them blocked Lu Ming's long spear, while the other 4 palms pressed down on Lu Ming like 4 mountains. Lu Ming's long spear shook, turning into layers of spear shadows, and blasted out. The long spear collided with the demon palms. In the violent explosion, Lu Ming and Mohe's bodies were both pushed back. This brat, how long has it been? He has such combat strength. He must be eliminated. Mohe was shocked. Back when he led people to hunt down Lu Ming did not have much strength to resist in front of him. But now, Lu Ming could fight him head-on, and it was difficult to tell who would win. In a while, what realm would Lu Ming reach? Wouldn't he surpass him in all aspects? Thinking of this, he felt a chill in his heart. He and Lu Ming were already mortal enemies. If they met in the future, they would definitely fight fiercely. One of them had to die. But in a while, he was afraid that if he met Lu Ming again, he would be the one to die. Therefore, he had to kill Lu Ming now. Kill! Kill! Mohe roared. His demonic chi seemed to burn, and the huge demonic god seemed to become corporeal. Shockingly, 6 huge demonic sabers appeared on the demonic god's 6 arms. Boom! Boom! Mohe took a step forward and charged at Lu Ming. The huge demonic god brandished its demonic sabers and charged at Lu Ming. Kill! Lu Ming shouted. The power of his third bloodline continuously poured into Lu Ming's body, causing Lu Ming's killing intent to become even stronger. At the same time, devouring power burst out and enveloped Mohe, causing his demonic chi to become unstable. The demonic god's aura also weakened. Lu Ming took a step forward and soared into the sky. His long spear turned into a 1,000-meter-long spear light that smashed toward Mohe. Mohe's eyes were ferocious. He also used all his strength. The huge demonic god and the 6 demonic sabers continuously slashed at Lu Ming. The two collided fiercely. Spear light and saber light soared into the sky. Everyone, whether they were on the platform or in the spectator stands, held their breaths and stared at the fighting ring. They were afraid that they would miss the exciting scene. What strong combat strength! He can unleash such terrifying combat strength when he's below the 7th martial royal realm. I'm afraid that even the 8th martial royal realm would be killed by him. A genius above the 7th martial royal realm said with a serious look. They're all peerless geniuses. In the future, they have great hopes of becoming the top 10 monstrous geniuses of the Tsang prefecture. That's right. I wonder who will win this battle. Chapter 1543. In the blink of an eye, Lu Ming and Mo He had exchanged dozens of blows. At this time, the demon god that Mo He had condensed began to tremble. Clearly, maintaining this demon god was taxing on Mo He's true qi. Moreover, Lu Ming was constantly releasing his devouring power. Mo He could feel that his demonic qi was constantly being devoured by Lu Ming. This made his demonic qi even more difficult to sustain. Seal. At this time, Lu Ming used the sealed doors again. The 6 sealed doors shone brightly and suppressed the demon god. This time, the demon god was finally unable to break through the sealed doors and his movements became stiff. Boom! Lu Ming seized the opportunity. His long spear turned into a huge spear light and smashed heavily on the demon god's head. 13 different powers instantly superimposed and exploded. Mo He roared, and the head of the demonic god exploded. Then, the body of the demonic god exploded as well. In an instant, the demon god's entire body exploded. Mo He's body shook violently and he spat out large mouthfuls of blood. His face was pale. Retreat! Mo He gritted his teeth and flew back. He knew that he had lost today. He was no match for Lu Ming. Now, he had to rush down the fighting stage. You can't escape. Seal. Lu Ming said coldly. 6 sealed doors appeared in front of Mo He, blocking his way. Mo He slashed out with his demonic saber continuously, but he couldn't break through the sealed doors. At this time, Lu Ming had already put away his long spear. He was holding a large seal in one hand. Primal Chaos Flipping Sky Seal. Now, Lu Ming had cultivated the Primal Chaos Flipping Sky Seal to the peak of the 3rd level. While its power was increasing, he was also becoming more proficient in using it. When he used the Primal Chaos Flipping Sky Seal, he didn't need to use it at once like before. The consumption of true qi was terrifying. Now, he could control the power of the Chaotic Flipping Sky Seal. By reducing the power of the Chaotic Flipping Sky Seal, he could save a lot of vital essence and control it more smoothly. For example, the seal that Lu Ming was holding in his hand was the Chaotic Flipping Sky Seal that he had condensed. It had about 50% of its full power. However, if Lu Ming had used his full power, he would not have been able to hold it in his hand and control it to such an extent. With 50% of its power, it would be much easier for Lu Ming to control it. Boom! Lu Ming waved his hand and the Primal Chaos Flipping Sky Seal smashed towards Mo He. Even with 50% of his full power, his attack power was still terrifyingly strong, surpassing the power of Lu Ming's 13 strikes of storing power. The Primal Chaos Flipping Sky Seal was like an ancient divine mountain as it smashed towards Mo He. The vast power and shocking aura caused Mo He's face to change drastically. Mo He roared and turned around to block. His demonic saber slashed out continuously, hoping to block the attack. Boom! The splitting demonic saber slashed at the Primal Chaos Flipping Sky Seal. Not only did it not split the Primal Chaos Flipping Sky Seal, but the demonic saber itself was shattered by the Primal Chaos Flipping Sky Seal. The Primal Chaos Flipping Sky Seal continued to smash down. In the end, Mo He used his demonic saber to block in front of him. An Emperor's spiritual weapon armor appeared on his body. Together with the domain, it blocked in front of him. Boom! The Primal Chaos Flipping Sky Seal smashed down heavily. Mo He's body shook violently as he retreated frantically. His face was pale as he vomited large mouthfuls of blood. His hands that were holding his saber were trembling non-stop. The bones in his wrists had been broken. He had paid such a heavy price to block the Primal Chaos Flipping Sky Seal. However, there was a loud rumbling sound from above as another primal chaos flipping sky seal came crashing down. Ah! Mo! He roared angrily as he exerted all his strength to defend himself. Bang! This time, Mo fell to his knees and coughed up a mouthful of blood. His arms exploded, and his demonic saber flew far away. As for Mo's body, even with the protection of his ruler armor, he was unable to withstand all of the power. The frightening power shattered many of Mo's bones. However, to Mo's despair, the third primal chaos flipping sky seal came crashing down on him. No! This time, he roared in despair. This time, he would not be able to block it. If he could not block it, he would die. Come out! He roared as a small black pagoda flew out from between his eyebrows. A vast aura emanated from it. A sacred weapon. This small pagoda was a sacred weapon. Wang! The sacred weapon expanded rapidly and collided with the primal chaos flipping sky seal. The small black pagoda was sent flying. He vomited blood again as he rolled on the fighting ring, leaving a trail of blood on the ground. He broke the rules by using a sacred weapon. Use a sacred weapon and kill him. The disciples of Dragon God Valley roared. Whoosh! The Saint Realm Elder of Dragon God Valley stepped out from the pavilion behind Dragon God Valley. His eyes were cold as he said, using a sacred weapon on the fighting ring will result in death. The Sage Realm Elder struck out with his palm, and a huge palm print pressed down on Mo. What are you doing? An elder rushed out from the pavilion behind the Empyrean demon sect. He struck out with his palm, sending out a blade light that shattered the Saint Realm Elder's palm print. The Saint Realm Elder of Dragon God Valley looked coldly at the Saint Realm Elder of Empyrean demon sect and said, "Before the battle began, I already announced that anyone who uses a sacred weapon will be killed. Are you trying to stop me? Elder, save me." He screamed in horror. The Saint Realm Elder of Empyrean demon sect frowned and said, "How about we spare him this time?" Spare him? You should ask the Taoists of the other sects if they agree. The Saint Realm Elder of Dragon God Valley sneered. Whoosh! Whoosh! Many figures stepped out from the pavilions. They were the Saint Realm Elders of the 13 sections. The rules have been passed down for tens of thousands of years. We can't break them. Since they've violated them, kill them. The Elder of Life and Death Sword faction was the first to speak. That's right. If everyone uses a sacred weapon, what's the point? How can we tell how strong the younger generation is? It's just a competition of how many sacred weapons they have. So, we must kill him. The Demon Castle Elder said. I agree. We must kill him. If he didn't use a sacred weapon, he would have been killed already. I agree. The elders of the other sects spoke one after another. Mo's face was filled with despair. Only the elders of Celestial Divinity sect and Poison Desire sect didn't speak. No, I don't want to die. He roared and turned into a ray of demonic light, about to rush into the distance. Die. The Saint Realm Elder of Dragon God Valley roared and a terrifying sound wave rushed toward Mo's body exploded in midair. Even the sacred weapon pagoda didn't have any effect. Lu Ming's heart trembled. Is this the strength of a Saint Realm Elder? He didn't even attack. He just roared and killed Mo. Chapter 1544. Lu Ming, this sacred weapon is your spoils of war. Keep it. The Saint Realm Elder of Dragon God Valley said. Thank you, Elder. Lu Ming did not stand on ceremony and kept the small pagoda sacred weapon. Of course, he also kept Mo's storage ring. These were his spoils of war and he did not stand on ceremony. Humph. The elder of Sky Universe Demon Sect glanced at Lu Ming coldly before he turned around and returned to his pavilion. The other sect elders also returned to their pavilions. Lu Ming, you've done well. You've made a great contribution this time. The sect will reward you accordingly. The Saint Realm Elder of Dragon God Valley said with a smile. This made Hiyu, Blizzard Silver City, and the others in the spectator stands jealous. Lu Ming smiled and returned to platform 10. He sat down cross-legged and waved his hand. A large pile of origin stones appeared. Lu Ming devoured the origin stones and started to recover. Lu Ming had used up a lot of energy in the previous battle. He did not have much true origin left. Everyone on the spectator stands looked at Lu Ming with fear. In this small gathering, 3 top geniuses had died at the hands of Lu Ming. If he had not used a sacred weapon, he would have been killed by Lu Ming. Therefore, he had been killed by Lu Ming. 3 top geniuses from Heavenly God Sect, Sky Universe Demon Sect, and Poison Desire Sect. This was a great loss. In the past treasure peddling gatherings, such a situation rarely happened. Moreover, Lu Ming's cultivation was only at the peak of LV for Martial Royal Realm. It was a miracle that he had achieved such a result. In the treasure peddling gatherings, top geniuses who had reached LV6 Martial Royal Realm were extremely difficult to kill. However, this time, Lu Ming had killed 3 of them. Back then, the Divine Sun's cultivation was at the peak of LV6 Martial Royal Realm and he had only killed 2 geniuses of this level in the treasure peddling gatherings. Now, the Divine Sun was the top of the top 10 geniuses. Lu Ming had already broken the record of the Son of God. The 13 sects and forces all had different thoughts in their minds. The challenges continued. After Lu Ming's challenge, it was the turn of the Demon Castle on Platform 13 to challenge. This was because the Peyuan family on Platform 11 and the Blood Demon House on Platform 12 had already been eliminated. After the Demon Castle challenge ended, this round also came to an end. Next, it was the Heavenly Divinity Sect's turn again. The Heavenly God Sect's people glanced at Lu Ming with deep fear. They then sent out one person to challenge the other sections. Next, it was the Sky Universe Devil Sect's turn. Although they wanted to avenge Mo, no one dared to challenge Lu Ming, so they could only challenge the other sections. Lu Ming sat cross-legged on the platform, but no one dared to challenge him. Soon, it was the Desire Poison Sect's turn. The Desire Poison Sect still had a top genius who had defeated Tian Chui previously. However, when he looked at Lu Ming, his eyes were filled with deep fear. How would he dare to challenge Lu Ming? He sent out another person to challenge the other sections. When it was the Dragon God Valley's turn again, no one dared to challenge Lu Ming. When it was Lu Ming's turn again, everyone's eyes fell on Lu Ming. They didn't know who Lu Ming was going to challenge this time. Everyone's hearts were beating fast. Especially the Heavenly Divinity Sect, the Sky Universe Devil Sect, and the Desire Poison Sect. Whoever was challenged by Lu Ming would be courting death. Lu Ming stepped onto the platform. After the cultivation just now, his true yuan had completely recovered. The devouring power allowed him to recover his true yuan by devouring origin stones at an astonishing speed. No one could compare to him. Lu Ming's gaze fell on the Desire Poison Sect side. He wanted to challenge the only top expert left from the Desire Poison Sect. Just now, this person had challenged Tian Chui. He wouldn't let him off so easily. The Desire Poison Sect's expert stepped onto the platform with an ugly expression. However, the moment he stepped onto the platform, he immediately rushed to the back. He wanted to rush off the platform. Many people were speechless. This person had a superior earth spiritual body. He was as famous as Mo He and Wu Qiandu. However, he didn't even dare to fight and wanted to rush off the platform. It was clear that this person was afraid of Lu Ming. Kill. Lu Ming charged towards this person. However, this person's spiritual body was a poisoned spiritual body. His vitality was extremely tenacious. Moreover, he wanted to escape and didn't want to fight. On this small platform, it was difficult for Lu Ming to kill him. In the end, his opponent successfully rushed off the platform at the cost of a certain amount of injuries. Lu Ming sighed inwardly. It was a pity. In this way, the Heavenly Divinity Sect, the Sky Universe Devil Sect, and the Desire Poison Sect, a total of 7 top experts, were all defeated. The competition ended prematurely. There wasn't much suspense in the rest of the competition. With Lu Ming holding the fort alone, no one dared to fight him. Every time it was Lu Ming's turn, he would choose a genius from the Heavenly Divinity Sect to kill. This made the geniuses on the Heavenly Divinity Sect's platform extremely afraid. In the end, in order to survive, they purposely didn't fight and rushed off the platform. They even challenged the Sky Universe Devil Sect and the Desire Poison Sect in order to preserve more lives. The 3 sects were forced to such a state by Lu Ming alone. This was rare. After this battle, Lu Ming's name was destined to spread throughout the Tsang continent. The challenges continued. Because the Heavenly Divinity Sect's method was equivalent to admitting defeat, they were the first to be defeated. This move of the Heavenly Divinity Sect is really beautiful. Where did they learn it? Someone from the Dragon God Valley mocked. The Heavenly Divinity Sect's disciples on the spectator stand all flushed red, but no one retorted. They didn't have the face to refute. Before the treasure pedestal meeting, the Heavenly Divinity Sect had announced that they would be the champion 3 times in a row. But now, it had become a joke. If they hadn't used the correct strategy to eliminate the 3 weakest sects in advance, they might not even be able to enter the top 10. After the Heavenly Divinity Sect was eliminated, Lu Ming targeted the Desire Poison Sect. Lu Ming considered that Xian Yanqing was the saintess of the Sky Universe Devil Sect, so after killing Mo he didn't continue to challenge the other disciples of the Sky Universe Devil Sect. This made the disciples of the Sky Universe Devil Sect heave a long sigh of relief. The Desire Poison Sect was in a miserable state. They were all frightened and in the end, they adopted the Heavenly Divinity Sect's method and became the second sect to be eliminated. As the competition continued, the number of people left from each sect decreased. Even the Life and Death Sword Sect only had a few people left. In this battle, the Life and Death Sword Sect was the same as before. Although they had fewer people, they were all elites with terrifying combat strength. Luo Xiang also rose in this battle. With his cultivation of the LV5 Martial Royal Realm, he had killed many LV6 Martial Royal Realm geniuses. Gradually, one sect after another was eliminated. However, there was still one person sitting cross-legged on the 10th platform. Lu Ming. Lu Ming was the only one left in the Dragon God Valley. However, Lu Ming was as steady as a rock and didn't move at all. In the end, will Lu Ming be the last to leave the Dragon God Valley in first place? Someone muttered. Many people looked at each other in dismay. If that was the case, it would be a legend that would be passed down for hundreds of years. Whoosh! A sword light flashed and Luo Xiang stepped onto the fighting stage. Lu Ming, how about we spar? Chapter 1545. Was Luo Xiang going to challenge Lu Ming? Many people were surprised and looked forward to the battle. Lu Ming was undoubtedly the biggest dark horse this time. He was only a LV4 Martial Royal Realm cultivator, but he had killed a few top earthly spiritual bodies and forced the Heavenly God Sect, Poison Sect, and the other sects to challenge other sects and lose on purpose. Luo Xiang was not weak either. Those who knew Luo Xiang knew that he was a terrifying person. He had stopped at the peak martial saint realm for 15 years to nurture his sword soul. Now, he was able to kill LV6 Martial Royal Realm geniuses as a LV5 Martial Royal Realm cultivator. His strength was unfathomable. Moreover, the life and death sword art was terrifying. What would happen if Luo Xiang challenged Lu Ming? Lu Ming stood up and stepped out of the fighting ring, facing Luo Xiang. Lu Ming, how about we settle this in one move? Luo Xiang said. Sure. Lu Ming said. To be honest, he had a good impression of Luo Xiang. Luo Xiang was a true sword cultivator. He was sharp, decisive, and righteous. He had his own bottom line. Previously, when the Heavenly God sect, Heavenly Universe Demon sect, and Poison sect were hunting the Dragon God Valley, Luo Xiang could not stand it anymore and killed the Heavenly God sect's experts. He was a man who lived for the sword. Lu Ming, you have to be careful. My life and death swordsmanship can determine life and death with one move. It has the meaning of, I live and you die. If you can block my move, you win. Luo Xiang warned. Give it your all. If I die under your sword, I can only blame myself for not being good enough. Lu Ming said. There was a strong desire to fight in his eyes. He wanted to see the life and death sword art that was famous in the Tsang continent. Clang! Unsheathing his battle sword, Luo Xiang's body emitted a terrifying aura that soared into the sky. At that moment, Luo Xiang seemed to have turned into a peerless sword. He was no longer a human, but a sword. However, the sword in his hand was not a sword, but a person. At that moment, Luo Xiang's sword seemed to have come alive with a soul. Lu Ming's eyes narrowed. He felt a strong pressure from Luo Xiang. It was rare to see a LV5 martial royal realm cultivator giving him such a strong pressure. Lu Ming's true essence began to circulate rapidly. The Emperor's spiritual weapon long spear appeared in his hand and the chaotic domain spread out. At the same time, Lu Ming's muscles and bones were wriggling slightly, ready to launch a terrifying attack at any time. Whoosh! At that moment, Luo Xiang made his move. A sword gleam cut through the void and pierced toward Lu Ming. Under this sword light, the void seemed to have been pierced through. Everything in the world seemed to have lost its color. It was as if this sword light was the only thing left in the world. Terrifying, sharp, and accurate. At this moment, Lu Ming felt as if there was a terrifying sword aura pressing down on his body, making it difficult for him to move. In the face of this sword, it was as if he could only be killed. Roar! At this moment, there was an earth-shattering dragon roar from Lu Ming's body. The dragon roar was vast and mighty, as though a real dragon had ascended to the 9 heavens. Lu Ming's true yuan surged as he broke through the Luo Xiang's sword art. He merged with his spear and thrust forward. He had used the 13th strike of the accumulating force. The spear was covered in the chaotic domain. The sword art and the spear seemed to be the only things in the world at that moment. Clang! The spear and the sword art collided with each other like two meteors in the sky. A blinding light was emitted from the point of impact. It was like the sun had suddenly exploded, causing the heavens and earth to be filled with white light. Many people felt a piercing pain in their eyes. Those with weaker cultivations could not help but close their eyes. How terrifying! Who won? Those with stronger cultivations opened their eyes wide and stared at the scene before them with their true yuan. The blinding light disappeared in a flash. When it disappeared, the crowd could see a figure flying backward and landing on the fighting ring. The figure took a few steps back before coming to a stop. Luo Xiang. The one who retreated was Luo Xiang. At that moment, Luo Xiang's face was extremely pale. His hand that was holding the sword was trembling slightly. Lu Ming stood motionless. Dragon scales appeared on his body. What a terrifying sword! Lu Ming let out a long breath. There was a trace of shock in his eyes. In the moment of collision, Lu Ming's chaotic domain that covered his spear had been pierced through by Luo Xiang's sword qi. The terrifying sword chi followed the spear and broke into his body. Dragon scales appeared on his body to block the sword chi. Even so, there was still a tearing pain on the surface of his skin. From this, one could see how terrifying Luo Xiang's sword was. The life and death sword art. One sword could decide life and death. Every sword was a sword that could kill. Luo Xiang was much stronger than when he was in the Tsang Emperor's secret realm. This strength did not refer to the increase in cultivation, but the ability to fight against those of the same level. At that time, Lu Ming's spiritual body was only a low-grade earth spiritual body, but he could still defeat Luo Xiang. At that time, Luo Xiang was on the same level as Wang Jian and Shi Tian. But now, Luo Xiang could easily kill Wang Jian and Shi Tian of the same level. Spiritual body is still a mid-grade earth spiritual body, but it can release such a sword. Unbelievable. Lu Ming thought. I lost. Luo Xiang put away his sword and clasped his fists towards Lu Ming. That sword could be said to be Luo Xiang's strongest sword. If he couldn't defeat Lu Ming with that sword, he would lose. After saying that, Luo Xiang turned around and jumped off the stage. Lu Ming did not chase after him. He and Luo Xiang were originally exchanging pointers. After Luo Xiang jumped off the stage, Lu Ming turned around and returned to the platform. The challenges continued. The following battles calmed down, but there were undercurrents surging. Because more than 30 rounds had passed, there were very few people left on each platform. It was about to end. The remaining people were all experts. After a few more rounds, there were less than 10 people left on the 13 platforms. However, the remaining people were all top experts. Most of them were at the level of Bai Mo, Han Sun, and Mo. At this time, the people from the Heavenly Gods sect and Sky Demons sect had all been eliminated. A new round had begun. It was the Heavenly King Palace's turn to challenge. The Heavenly King Palace was very strong, not weaker than the Sky Demons sect and Poison sect. Now, there were only 2 people left. Both of them were top experts. There was only one person left from the Demonic Moon sect. The leader of the Demonic Moon sect was also a top expert. There was only one person left from the 9 Heaven Sword sect, also a top expert. There was only one person left from the Linglong Palace, also a top expert. There was also one person from the Life and Death Sword faction and the Good Demon Castle. Including Lu Ming, there were a total of 8 people. There were only 8 people left. On the surface, the Heavenly King Palace was the strongest with 2 people left. However, at this time, all the platforms were silent. The 2 top experts from the Heavenly King Palace glanced at the other people, but the one who they looked at the most was Lu Ming. The powerful figures from the other sects also cast their gazes on Lu Ming. Their gazes were solemn. Chapter 1546. According to the rules, the last person standing would get 7 Imperial Jade Pills as a reward. Who wouldn't want that? But if they wanted to get the Imperial Region Pills, they would have to defeat the others. Among the 8 people present, Lu Ming was undoubtedly a mountain that everyone who wanted to get first place had to overcome. Previously, Lu Ming had already displayed his terrifying combat strength and was able to kill top experts. The other 7 people were all wary of him. No one was confident that they would be able to defeat Lu Ming alone. There was a high chance that they would be defeated. Therefore, they were extremely cautious in challenging him now. Heavenly King Palace, it's your turn. Hurry up and challenge him. The remaining Sky Prides from the Demon Castle said. What's the hurry? One of the Sky Prides from the Heavenly King Palace said coldly. Everyone, all of you want to get first place, right? A youth in purple gold armor from the Heavenly King Palace said. Isn't that obvious? The Sky Prides from the Demon Castle said. Of course. Who doesn't want to get first place? That's 7 Imperial Region pills. Not only that, but you can also become famous in the Tsang state. The leader of the 9 Heaven Sword sect said. The others nodded. That's right. We all want to get first place. But I'll be honest. With Lu Ming here, none of us can get first place. The youth in purple gold armor from the Heavenly King Palace said. The others were silent. It was obvious that they agreed. Then what do you want to do? The Sky Prides from the Demon Castle asked. Let's team up and take turns to defeat Lu Ming. Then, we'll fight it out. The youth in purple gold armor from the Heavenly King Palace said. Lu Ming glanced at the two from the Heavenly King Palace. He wasn't too surprised. With the combat strength that he had displayed previously, he had already expected that the other sects would take turns to fight him. Just like what the youth in purple gold armor had said, if they didn't defeat him, the others wouldn't be able to get first place. However, would it be that easy to defeat him? Lu Ming's lips curled into an inexplicable smile. I don't agree. There are 2 people from the Heavenly King Palace. Taking turns to fight him is beneficial to you. The Sky Prides from the Demonic Moon sect on the 4th platform sneered. Xiaofan, this is the only way. If you don't do this, I'll challenge you now. Are you confident that you can defeat me? Even if you win, how much combat strength do you have? Even if I don't challenge you now, you will challenge someone else later. Who do you think you can challenge? The Heavenly King's Palace's purple golden armored youth asked a few questions, causing the others to fall silent again. That was indeed the case. After that, every battle would be a battle of the peak. No one could guarantee that they wouldn't be injured after defeating their opponent. That would only benefit the people behind them. In the end, no one was a match for Lu Ming. They had no other choice. I agree. The Demon Castle's genius was the first to agree. His geographical position was the best, so he could take turns fighting Lu Ming. After all, it would be his turn last. After so many rounds, Lu Ming would most likely be defeated. He would be at the back and could conserve his strength. I agree too. The Ling Long Palace's outstanding talent also spoke. The Ling Long Palace's position was also relatively towards the back. In the end, the 9 Heaven Sword sect nodded in agreement. In the end, only Xiaofan from the Demonic Moon sect was left, and his expression was ugly. His position was only behind the Sky King Hall. After the Sky King Hall's challenge, it would be his turn. I will be the first to challenge. The purple golden armored youth from the Sky King Palace said. Alright, I agree. In the end, Xiaofan also nodded in agreement. At this point, he had no other choice. Luckily, the purple golden armored youth was the first to challenge Lu Ming. At least he could exhaust some of Lu Ming's battle strength. When the time came, he might have a chance. After Xiaofan agreed, the purple golden armored youth from the Sky King Hall stepped onto the battle stage. He looked at Lu Ming and said, Lu Ming, how about you fight with me? As you wish. Lu Ming stepped out and landed on the battle stage. The purple golden armored youth's eyes were solemn as he said, Lu Ming, how about we fight? Let's spar without killing each other. What do you think? Sure. Lu Ming said. He had already offended the Heavenly God sect, Sky Universe Demon sect, and Poison Desire sect. He didn't want to offend any more sections. Seeing that Lu Ming had agreed, the purple golden armored youth heaved a sigh of relief. To be honest, it was a lie to say that he wasn't afraid of Lu Ming. After all, he was the one who had suggested taking turns to fight Lu Ming. He was really afraid that Lu Ming would kill him in a fit of anger. He wasn't confident that he could get out of the battle stage successfully. Be careful. The purple golden armored youth's body emitted a purple gold light. Even his skin had turned purple gold, making him look like a heavenly king. Boom! The purple golden armored youth stepped onto the battle stage. His body was like a giant beast as he charged towards Lu Ming. He threw out a punch, causing the void to tremble. The purple golden armored youth's fist smashed towards Lu Ming. Without a doubt, he was a genius on the same level as Han Sun and Mo Hao. If it was a normal battle, even Lu Ming would have to put in a lot of effort. However, Lu Ming didn't plan to fight a normal battle with the youth. Lu Ming's hands moved at a rapid speed, like a phantom. A huge chaotic cyclic sky seal appeared in Lu Ming's hand. The chaotic cyclic sky seal wasn't at full strength. Like the previous battle with Mo Hao, it was only at 50% of its power. 50% of its power was enough. Lu Ming threw the chaotic cyclic sky seal at the purple golden armored youth. The purple golden armored youth's face changed drastically. He had seen the terrifying power of this move when Lu Ming had fought with Mo Hao. Heavenly King Pagoda. The purple golden armored youth roared. His purple gold body swelled and he grew taller. The purple golden armored youth's body shone brightly as he threw out both palms at the chaotic cyclic sky seal. Boom! The purple golden armored youth's palms hit the chaotic cyclic sky seal. His burly body shook violently as the purple golden armored youth's body flickered and exploded. Bam! The purple golden armored youth couldn't even stand properly. His bones creaked as he knelt down and spat out a mouthful of blood. Boom! At this time, Lu Ming started to form the chaotic cyclic sky seal again. Wait a minute, I don't want to fight anymore. The purple golden armored youth shouted. Then, he rushed to the side of the fighting ring and flew to the spectators' stand behind the Heavenly King's hall to heal his injuries. Lu Ming didn't chase after him. This could save his true essence. The chaotic cyclic sky seal that was halfway formed dissipated. The others looked at each other in dismay. The purple golden armored youth was defeated by Lu Ming in one move and rushed off the fighting ring. Was the gap in their combat strength so big? The gap is not that big. Lu Ming's move should be his most powerful unique move. Its power is shocking. However, such a unique move consumes a lot of vital essence. It is also very terrifying. That's right. I believe Lu Ming can only use a few moves with such a move. Chapter 1547. Lu Ming returned to the 10th platform. Next, it was Xia Sha's turn. Xia Sha's face turned ugly. The purple golden armored youth had only blocked one of Lu Ming's attacks before he was defeated. God knows how much true essence Lu Ming had used. If he were to challenge Lu Ming now, he was not confident at all. However, even if he went back on his promise and gave up on challenging Lu Ming, he wouldn't be able to make it to the end. If he didn't challenge Lu Ming, he would challenge others. However, none of the remaining challengers were weak. Even if he won, he would definitely be injured. Then, the next challenger would definitely challenge him and he would definitely lose. Fight! Xia Sha gritted his teeth. He knew that he wouldn't be able to make it to the end. He might as well challenge Lu Ming and leave a good name for himself. With a movement of his body, Xia Sha landed on the fighting ring. He looked at Lu Ming and said, "Lu Ming, how about we fight?" Lu Ming smiled faintly. He took a step forward and returned to the fighting ring. Buzz! Lu Ming didn't waste any time. He stepped onto the platform and formed a seal with his hands. A chaotic flipping sky seal appeared in his hands. Boom! Lu Ming threw the chaotic flipping sky seal at Xia Sha. Xia Sha's face changed drastically. Evil chi surged from his body. A blood-red moon appeared in his hands and he threw it at the chaotic flipping sky seal. Boom! There was an earth-shattering explosion. The blood-red moon and the chaotic flipping sky seal clashed. After a few breaths, the chaotic flipping sky seal collapsed. Xiaoshan's body was sent flying and he spat out a mouthful of blood. He looked at Lu Ming in shock. He finally understood how terrifying Lu Ming's chaotic flipping sky seal was. What kind of attack is this? Why is it so terrifying? Xiaoshan thought to himself. Bam! Lu Ming stepped forward and walked toward Xiaoshan. I've lost this battle. Xiaoshan shouted and rushed down the fighting stage. Like the purple golden armored youth, he admitted defeat. These people had selfish motives. After receiving the first move, they understood that they were no match for Lu Ming. Otherwise, given their strength, they could receive the second move of the chaotic flipping sky seal. However, in that case, they would be seriously injured. Like the purple golden armored youth, they were going to lose anyway. Why fight so hard? If they were severely injured, it would affect their cultivation. It would be better to leave it to the next challengers. Therefore, Xiaoshan was the same as the purple golden armored young man. After receiving one attack, he immediately admitted defeat. This time, Lu Ming did not return to the platform. His gaze landed on the Nine Heaven Sword Sect powerhouse. Next, you should be challenging me, right? Come down. Swoosh. With a flash of sword light, the genius of the Nine Heaven Sword Sect stepped onto the battle stage. Just like before, let's spar and not fight to the death. The prodigy of the Nine Firmament Sword Sect said. Sure. Lu Ming said, and a chaotic flipping sky seal appeared in his hand. Lu Ming didn't want to waste time and threw the chaotic flipping sky seal at the Nine Heavenly Sword Sect's disciple. The huge chaotic flipping sky seal was like a mountain, completely enveloping the opponent. In such a battle platform, it was difficult for the opponent to dodge. He could only take it head-on. A sword chime sounded and a bright sword light shot up to the sky, slashing at the chaotic flipping sky seal. In the next moment, the sword light shattered and the chaotic flipping sky seal slammed down, causing the Nine Heavenly Sword Sect's disciple to vomit blood. His eyes were filled with unwillingness. He didn't want to lose like this, but he didn't know how many more moves Lu Ming could make. Fight! The Nine Heavenly Sword Sect's disciple became one with his sword and turned into a bright sword light, slashing at Lu Ming. Buzz! Lu Ming's body was covered in the chaotic domain. Another chaotic flipping sky seal appeared in his hand and attacked the Nine Heavenly Sword Sect's disciple. Oh no! The Nine Heavenly Sword Sect's disciple was shocked and quickly retreated. He wanted to dodge, but under the chaotic flipping sky seal, he couldn't. Break! The Nine Heavenly Sword Sect's disciple slashed out hundreds of times. The bright sword light collided with the chaotic flipping sky seal, causing sparks to fly. The Nine Heavenly Sword Sect's disciple grunted as he was blasted off the battle platform by the chaotic flipping sky seal. His clothes were stained with blood and his face was as pale as a sheet. After taking 2 consecutive blows from the chaotic flipping sky seal, his injuries were more serious than the previous 2. How can Lu Ming's attack be so powerful? Indeed, it's too powerful. There's no way to fight it. The key is, how many times can he make such an attack? He's already made 4 attacks in a row. He should be reaching his limit soon. In the battle platform, Lu Ming looked at the Linglong Palace's disciple. The Linglong Palace's disciple was a beautiful woman. In fact, all the disciples of the Linglong Palace were women. Each of them was as beautiful as a flower. The Linglong Palace's disciple stepped forward with a beautiful smile on her face. She said softly, "Mr. Lu Ming, please have mercy on me." Her fragrance made one want to take pity on her, making one reluctant to make a move. However, Lu Ming condensed a chaotic flipping sky seal and threw it at the other party. The beautiful woman's face changed. She waved her hand and countless petals appeared. The petals formed a huge hand and pulled at the chaotic flipping sky seal. However, the result was the same. The huge hand collapsed and the beautiful woman slid 100 meters away on the battle platform. Blood flowed from the corner of her mouth. "Mr. Lu Ming, you don't know how to be gentle with a woman." The beautiful lady wiped away the blood at the corner of her mouth and glared at Lu Ming, seemingly coquettish and angry. "Fairy, you have amazing combat strength. If I were to be gentle with you, I would be the one to lose." Lu Ming took a step forward. The chaotic aura in his palm was rich and it kept on rolling. The beautiful woman had amazing combat strength. She was the least injured after taking his chaotic flipping sky seal. "Young Master Lu Ming, I wonder how many moves you can unleash with such a powerful move." The beautiful woman smiled. "Why don't you give it a try?" Lu Ming smiled. Another chaotic flipping sky seal formed in his hand. The beautiful woman looked solemn. Countless petals swirled around her. The endless petals were colorful, making the beautiful woman look like a goddess. Boom! Lu Ming attacked for the second time. The second chaotic flipping sky seal blasted out. This time, the petals around the beautiful woman formed a shield in front of her. The chaotic flipping sky seal pressed down and the shield exploded. The beautiful woman retreated to the edge of the battle platform. Her body trembled and she spat out a mouthful of blood. "Fairy, do you want to try again?" Lu Ming asked. The beautiful woman's expression changed. Finally, she sighed and turned to leave the battle platform. Lu Ming had defeated another person. At this moment, the whole place was silent. Lu Ming had already defeated 4 people consecutively. Every one of them was a top-notch prodigy, a top existence who participated in the small gathering this time. However, Lu Ming had defeated 4 people consecutively. In addition to the 3 people that Lu Ming had killed previously, this time, Lu Ming alone had defeated 7 top-notch geniuses like them. Chapter 1548. However, this was not the end. There were still 3 people left. Would Lu Ming continue to create miracles? Would they be able to witness the birth of a miracle? After the beautiful girl from Linglong Palace, it was the turn of the strongest genius from Life and Death Sword faction. He was a cold-looking young man in a black robe. Just by standing there casually, he seemed to be emitting wisps of sword chi. He took a step forward and landed in front of Lu Ming. Powerful sword chi whizzed out and filled the fighting ring. "Make your move," the genius from Life and Death Sword faction said indifferently. He was not like the others who had agreed with Lu Ming beforehand that there would be no life or death battle. For Life and Death Sword faction, there was no such agreement. Their swords were too dangerous. Once they struck, it would be a life or death battle. Facing the genius from Life and Death Sword faction, Lu Ming did not dare to be careless. Boom! A chaotic cyclic seal appeared in Lu Ming's hand and blasted toward his opponent. Clang! The battle sword was unsheathed and a terrifying sword radiance cut through the void and slashed toward the chaotic cyclic seal. The dazzling sword radiance hit the chaotic cyclic seal and made an unpleasant sound. Bang! In the end, the terrifying sword radiance and the chaotic cyclic seal collapsed at the same time and dissipated in the air. Lu Ming and the genius from Life and Death Sword faction did not move at all. He blocked it. The genius from Life and Death Sword faction blocked Lu Ming's attack. How terrifying! Life and Death Sword faction is indeed worthy of their name. Their combat strength is so terrifying that they can block Lu Ming's attack head-on. Terrifying. The others are no match for them at all. I don't know how many more moves Lu Ming can make like that. This is going to be interesting. The fact that the genius from Life and Death Sword faction could block Lu Ming's attack attracted a lot of discussion. At the same time, many people were excited and were guessing who would win. Lu Ming was at a disadvantage. He had already fought a few people in front of him and the terrifying attacks had already been unleashed 7 times. Would Lu Ming's vital essence be able to withstand it? On the platform, the only remaining genius from the Fiend Castle and a genius from the Sky Seat Palace both had extremely grave expressions on their faces. The genius of the Life and Death Sword faction and Lu Ming were too strong. With the two of them around, they had no hope of reaching the end. Let's hope that both of them are seriously injured. The Sky Pride of the Heavenly King's palace thought to himself. Not only him, but the young man from the Demon Castle also thought the same. If Lu Ming and the young man from the Life and Death Sword faction were both injured, then they would have a chance. On the fighting ring, Lu Ming's eyes narrowed. To think that his opponent was able to block his primal chaos flipping sky seal unscathed. His combat prowess was truly terrifying. Again. The genius of the Life and Death Sword faction had an intense battle intent in his eyes as he slashed out with his battle sword. Another terrifying sword light slashed towards Lu Ming. Boom! Lu Ming once again condensed the primal chaos flipping sky seal and collided with his opponent. This time, it was still a tie. What a powerful sword technique. I can only increase the power of the primal chaos flipping sky seal. Lu Ming thought to himself. He formed a seal with his hands and another primal chaos flipping sky seal was condensed. However, the power of this primal chaos flipping sky seal was 70% of Lu Ming's full power. A terrifying aura filled the air and everyone was shocked. How can this be? Lu Ming's attack seems to have become stronger. This is unbelievable. Did he not use his full power just now? The scene was in an uproar as everyone was shocked. Lu Ming had not used his full power when he had unleashed such a terrifying attack. Now, he had increased the power of his attack. What was Lu Ming's limit? Boom! The primal chaos flipping sky seal, which was 70% of its power, was directed towards the genius of the Life and Death Sword faction. Life and death in a thought. The genius of the Life and Death Sword faction said coldly. Then, a sword light burst forth as he became one with his sword. A terrifying sword light slashed towards the primal chaos flipping sky seal. Boom! There was an earth-shattering explosion. The sword light and the primal chaos flipping sky seal dissipated. A figure retreated rapidly to the edge of the fighting ring before he could stabilize himself. It was the genius of the Life and Death Sword faction. At this moment, the genius of the Life and Death Sword faction was bleeding from the corner of his mouth. I've lost. After a moment of silence, the genius of the Life and Death Sword faction said. He took a step forward and rushed down the fighting ring, landing on the spectator stand of the Life and Death Sword faction. Phew, secretly, Lu Ming heaved a long sigh of relief. He felt that he was lucky. The genius of the Life and Death Sword faction was not seriously injured. If he had continued to fight, he would have been in trouble. This was because his true essence was about to be exhausted. He had used the primal chaos flipping sky seal so many times. Although he had not used his full power, the consumption of his true essence was still shocking. After so many times, his true essence was severely depleted. With the defeat of the genius of the Life and Death Sword faction, there were only two people left on the fighting ring. Next, it was the turn of the youth from the Demon Castle. Do you want to continue to challenge me? Lu Ming looked at the youth from the Demon Castle. The youth from the Demon Castle looked terrible. However, he had no choice but to fight. Boom! The youth from the Demon Castle landed on the fighting ring, causing it to rumble. Lu Ming, I don't believe that your true essence is endless. The youth from the Demon Castle let out a roar. His body swelled rapidly and turned into a giant ape that was dozens of meters tall. The ancient divine ape was a terrifying divine beast. There was no doubt that the true form of the youth from the Demon Castle was an ancient divine ape. Moreover, it was a pure-blooded ancient divine ape, a true divine beast. Roar! The ancient divine ape let out a roar. A huge iron rod appeared in its hand and it smashed towards Lu Ming. Wind element skill. This time, Lu Ming did not use the primal chaos flipping sky seal. Instead, he used the wind element skill to dodge the attack of the ancient divine ape. Many people were stunned. Why did Lu Ming stop attacking? Although the ancient divine ape was strong, it was at most on the same level as Mo. It was not as strong as the genius from the Life and Death Sword faction. Why did Lu Ming not defeat it directly? In the next moment, they all knew the answer. Lu Ming waved his hand and a pile of origin stones appeared. The devouring power in Lu Ming's hand exploded and he started to devour the origin stones. He is absorbing the origin stones to recover. His true essence can't continue, it's all used up. Many people shouted. The eyes of the people from the Heavenly King's Hall and the Demon Castle lit up. Lu Ming had finally exhausted his true essence. Roar! The ancient divine ape was even more excited. The iron rod in its hand smashed towards Lu Ming like a storm. If he did not use this opportunity to defeat Lu Ming, he would not have another chance. Lu Ming used the wind element skill and dodged the attacks of the ancient divine ape. At the same time, he devoured the origin chi of the origin stones and refined them rapidly. Boom! 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 Shadows of the rods smashed on the fighting ring, causing it to rumble non-stop. Lu Ming's body flickered as he shuttled through the shadows of the rods. The ancient divine ape is not good at speed. Damn it! Chapter 1549. At this moment, he was the most anxious person. He could not wait for the ancient divine ape to blast Lu Ming off the fighting ring. It would be best if Lu Ming retaliated appropriately and injured the ancient divine ape. That would be perfect. That way, he could easily defeat the ancient divine ape and clinch the victory. However, the ancient divine ape was not good at speed. Although its attacks were strong, it could not hit Lu Ming. Don't run! The ancient divine ape roared. Its iron rod kept swinging, but it could not hit Lu Ming. Lu Ming ignored it and focused on refining the origin stones. Junior brother Lu Ming, go for it. Tian Chui and Xuaningxin cheered for Lu Ming from the Dragon God Valley stands. Lu Ming will win. The disciples of the Dragon God Valley also cheered. Right now, they were getting closer to the final victory. Most of the disciples of the Divine Dragon Valley hoped that Lu Ming would emerge victorious. It had been many years since the Divine Dragon Valley had won the first place at the Treasure Ding Ding meeting. Of course, there were a few who did not want Lu Ming to win. Those were the disciples of the Silver Dragon Valley and Hiyu. The ancient divine ape will smash him to death. Hiyu's eyes widened as he stared at the fighting ring. He did not want Lu Ming to win. Instead, he hoped that Lu Ming would be defeated or killed by the ancient divine ape. The disciples of the Silver Dragon Valley had similar thoughts. Unfortunately, they were destined to be disappointed. Lu Ming's movement technique was fast. The ancient divine ape was not good at speed. No matter how Hiyu attacked, Lu Ming would always be able to dodge it. The fight went on for more than 10 minutes. No, this can't go on. Lu Ming keeps dodging. What's the point? Let's declare him the loser. That's right. Are we going to keep this up? The disciples of the Monster Castle yelled. Humph, there is no rule in the treasure sorting party that says that you can't dodge. Movement technique is also a part of your combat power. The disciples of the Dragon God Valley sneered. Then, if this continues, when will it end? 3 days? 5 days? Lu Ming is absorbing origin stones to restore his true essence during the competition. This is simply impossible. The origin energy he absorbs is less than the energy he consumes using his movement technique. If this continues, then he won't be able to finish the competition in half a month. The people from the demon castle retorted. The people of Dragon God Valley remained silent with cold faces. Indeed, if this were to go on, who knew when it would end? Furthermore, in the midst of the competition, absorbing the ores would definitely not be fast. This was not the way to go. Who said it would take 3 to 5 days? At this moment, Lu Ming's figure stopped, and a faint voice was heard. Then, a dragon's roar was heard, and a punch was thrown out. Boom! Lu Ming's fist collided with the iron rod of the ancient divine ape, blocking the iron rod's attack. Not running anymore? Many people were stunned. If you don't want to run, then you'll lose. The ancient godly ape roared and continued to attack Lu Ming with the iron rod. This time, it was even more powerful than before. You're the one who will lose. Lu Ming formed a seal with his hands, and a huge chaotic flipping sky seal appeared above the ancient godly ape's head and pressed down on him. It's that move again. How is this possible? Didn't he use up all his true essence? How can he use it again? Impossible. How can he absorb and refine the origin stones so quickly? Many people shouted in disbelief. They did not know the wonders of the devouring power. The devouring power could devour and refine the ores at an astonishing speed. Although it had only been a few minutes, it was enough for Lu Ming to recover a lot. It was enough for him to use the chaotic flipping sky seal at 50 to 60% of its strength a few times. The chaotic flipping sky seal pressed down, and the pressure made the ancient godly ape's heart palpitate. He could not care less about attacking Lu Ming and swung his iron rod upward. Boom! The huge iron rod hit the chaotic flipping sky seal, and a loud boom was heard. The ancient godly ape roared and his huge body shook violently. He kept retreating, and the ground rumbled when he stepped on it. The ancient godly ape's arms kept shaking, and he almost lost his grip on the iron rod. Blood kept flowing out of his fangs. Buzz! The sky shook, and another chaotic flipping sky seal was formed. I admit defeat. The ancient godly ape roared and his body shrank rapidly. He ran out of the fighting ring. Lu Ming smiled and waved his hand. The chaotic flipping sky seal in the sky dissipated. The ancient godly ape rushed down the fighting ring. There was no need to continue the fight. He knew that he would lose when Lu Ming formed 2 chaotic flipping sky seals in a row. Hence, he admitted defeat. Another person. Lu Ming had defeated another person. In addition to the 3 people he had killed, 9 top supreme talents had been defeated by Lu Ming. There was only one person left, and that was 10 people. Come on, let's decide the winner. Lu Ming looked at the last person, the Supreme Talent from Heavenly King Hall. The Supreme Talent from Heavenly King Hall stepped onto the fighting ring and looked at Lu Ming with a solemn expression. Lu Ming, although you have absorbed some origin stones, you haven't recovered much. How many more moves can you make? The Supreme Talent from Heavenly King Hall asked to test Lu Ming. Why don't you give it a try? Lu Ming smiled. Of course. The Supreme Talent from Heavenly King Hall was filled with fighting spirit. His body started to turn golden. There was only one battle left. The Supreme Talent from Heavenly King Hall would not give up. Perhaps Lu Ming did not have much true origin left. As long as he could withstand a few more moves, he would be able to defeat Lu Ming. He had to take a gamble and fight with all his might. Heavenly King Apocalypse. The Supreme Talent from Heavenly King Hall turned golden. His body swelled up like the youth in purple armor, but the color was different. A golden giant sword appeared in his hand, and he charged at Lu Ming. At that moment, a chaotic flipping sky seal appeared in Lu Ming's hand. Boom! The chaotic flipping sky seal flew out and collided with the Supreme Talent from Heavenly King Hall. In the golden light, the supreme talent from Heavenly King Hall was sent flying. The golden light around his body dimmed and he spat out blood. He was injured in one move. However, the supreme talent from Heavenly King Hall did not give up and continued to charge forward. He was betting that Lu Ming's true origin would be depleted soon. However, to his despair, another chaotic flipping sky seal appeared in Lu Ming's hand. Boom! This time, the supreme talent from Heavenly King Hall was even more injured. Many of his bones were broken and his body shrunk. His aura was much weaker. However, there was still a look of determination in his eyes. He did not want to give up. Boom! Another huge primal chaos flipping sky seal appeared in the sky. I have lost. At that moment, the supreme talent from Heavenly King Hall said helplessly. He knew that it was impossible for him to win. With this move from Lu Ming, he would definitely die. He struggled to charge out of the fighting ring. Lu Ming looked on calmly. The chaotic flipping sky seal did not attack. After the supreme talent from Heavenly King Hall rushed out of the fighting ring, Lu Ming waved his hand and the chaotic flipping sky seal disappeared. Whoosh! Chapter 1550. This battle was really not easy to win. If he didn't have the chaotic flipping sky seal, a heaven-defying domain-type martial technique, he wouldn't have been able to win against so many experts. That is, unless his cultivation base was one level higher. We won, Lu Ming won. Dragon God Valley won first place. The disciples of Dragon God Valley shouted excitedly. Some of them were so excited that they were trembling with tears in their eyes. The Dragon God Valley had a hard time in this battle. From the beginning, they were targeted by the Heavenly God sect, the Sky Universe Demon sect, and the Poison sect. They kept killing the disciples of Dragon God Valley. At that time, they were furious and helpless. They even thought that they would be the first to be eliminated and not be able to participate in this treasure sorting meeting. However, they did not expect the situation to turn around. When there were only 4 people left, the Dragon God Valley started to fight back and took the initiative. In the end, when Lu Ming was the only one left, he defeated his opponents consecutively with his invincible talent and clinched the first place. With such a huge contrast, the disciples of the Dragon God Valley were very excited. Of course, He Yu and the disciples of Silver Dragon God Valley all looked gloomy. However, the disciples of the Heavenly God sect, the Sky Universe Demon sect, and the Poison sect looked even worse. In this battle, the 3 great sects could be said to have lost everything. They had suffered a double loss and suffered heavy losses. Although they had killed many people from the Divine Dragon Valley, they were those with weak cultivation levels and were not very talented. However, those who had died in the hands of Lu Ming and the rest were true geniuses. Many of them were elites with medium earth spiritual bodies. In particular, the 3 people who were killed by Lu Ming were elites with high earth spiritual bodies. They had suffered heavy losses. The people of the other sects also had complicated expressions. At this moment, everyone's eyes were fixed on the fighting ring, on the handsome and tall figure. In a sense, this treasure sorting meeting was a grand event for one person. That person was Lu Ming. Lu Ming alone dominated this competition. This was something that had never happened since the Treasure Ding Assembly was established. The treasure peddling meeting this time seemed to be held solely for Lu Ming. Ha ha ha, good. In the pavilion of the Dragon God Valley, the Saint Realm Elder stepped out and laughed. He said, "Good," 3 times, showing how excited this Saint Realm Elder was. Now, it's time for the reward. The Saint Realm Elder of Dragon God Valley looked at the pavilion of the Celestial God sect. The Sage Stage Elder of the Celestial God sect flew out with an ugly expression. He reluctantly took out a jade bottle and said, "The last person remaining in this small meeting will be rewarded with 7 Emperor Domain pills." Then, he tossed the jade bottle to Lu Ming. Lu Ming caught it and opened it to take a look. There were 7 sparkling and translucent Emperor's Domain pills inside. They were dazzling and resplendent, and they emitted a rich medicinal fragrance. Just a whiff of the medicinal fragrance was enough to make one feel comfortable all over. Countless envious and jealous gazes were cast at Lu Ming. Lu Ming smiled and looked at Tian Shui, Xuaningxin, and Han Sun. He said, "Senior brother Han Sun, senior brother Tian Shui, senior sister, come to the battle stage." They were stunned and stepped onto the battle stage one after another. "Senior brother Han Sun, this Emperor's Domain pill is for you." Lu Ming poured out an Emperor's Domain pill and handed it to Han Sun. Han Sun was stunned and he quickly declined, saying, "I can't accept this. The rule of the small meeting is that only the last person remaining will receive the reward. You're the last person, so the reward naturally belongs to you." Han Sun shook his head. "Senior brother Han Sun, you don't have to be so polite. You were seriously injured in the battle with Saint Yu. This Emperor's Domain pill is what you deserve." Lu Ming said and handed the Emperor's Domain pill over. Seeing Lu Ming's sincere attitude, Han Sun hesitated and said, "Then Han Sun will thank junior brother Lu Ming." Saying this, he received the Emperor's Domain pill with joy. The Emperor's Domain pill was extremely helpful to him. With the help of the Emperor's Domain pill, he would be able to rank up to the 7th layer Martial Dominator realm in no time. "Senior brother, senior sister, there are still 6 pills left. We'll take 2 each." Lu Ming glanced at Tian Shui and Xuaningxin. "No way. Junior brother, it's all because of you that you were able to come first in the battle. We didn't help you at all." Xuaningxin shook her head. "That's right. I'm worried that you'll share it with us." Tian Shui rejected too. "How about this, you'll take 1 each, what do you think?" Lu Ming said with a smile. Tian Shui and Xuaningxin hesitated for a moment before agreeing. After giving 1 to Tian Shui and Xuaningxin, Lu Ming kept the remaining 4 Emperor's Domain pills. The 4 Emperor's Domain pills should be able to improve his cultivation. Wait! At that instant, a few figures entered the battle stage. They were He Yu, Yincheng, and a few other disciples of the Silver Dragon Valley. The one who spoke was He Yu. "Lu Ming, are you going to keep the rest of the Emperor's Domain pills? So many of us have taken part in the trial. Are you planning to keep them all to yourself?" He Yu said with a hollow laugh. "Oh? What do you want?" Lu Ming said calmly. "Of course we'll share them." He Yu said with a hollow laugh. "Share them? Bullshit, the rules of the trial state that only the last person will be rewarded. Why should junior brother Lu Ming share the Emperor's Domain pills?" Tian Shui snapped in an unpleasant tone. "Humph, we all contributed to Lu Ming being able to stay until the end. How could we not share them?" He Yu said. "Contributed?" Lu Ming said as he looked at He Yu with disdain. "You're a coward and you didn't follow the rules. You were the first to rush up and you purposely lost. Is this your contribution?" "I did it on purpose to leave behind a useful body. Otherwise, I'd just be throwing my life away. Moreover, we were facing such a situation in the beginning. So many of our brothers died because you offended the 3 great sects of the Heavenly God sect." He Yu quibbled and made a false accusation in the end. "Oh? Is that so?" Lu Ming said coldly. Suddenly, Lu Ming moved. He took a step forward and slapped He Yu. He Yu was shocked. He had never expected Lu Ming to attack him. Slap. There was a crisp sound of a slap. Lu Ming had slapped He Yu's face directly. He Yu's body was sent flying like a sandbag. He landed heavily on the ground below the fighting ring. Half of his face was smashed. Lu Ming did not want to waste his breath on such a person. He would fight if he could. He Yu was completely dumbfounded. He lay on the ground and covered his smashed face as he stared blankly at Lu Ming. What right does a piece of trash like you have to share the Emperor's domain pills? Lu Ming said coldly. At this moment, He Yu came to his senses and shouted crazily, Lu Ming, you're audacious and lawless. Do you think you can do whatever you want just because you have some strength? Senior and junior brothers, am I right? All of us have contributed, so why should the reward be given to him alone? Chapter 1551. However, those youths were all looking at He Yu with disdain. Lu Ming had gotten the reward himself. They were not so despicable as to split the reward with Lu Ming. He Yu was so angry that he wanted to vomit blood when he saw everyone's disdainful gazes. He looked at the Sage Realm Elder and said, Elder, you must uphold justice. Shut up and get lost. Don't embarrass yourself here. The Sage State Elder scolded coldly and looked at He Yu with disgust. He Yu turned pale and stood there, tongue-tied. Do you want to be slapped too? Lu Ming looked at the people from Silver City. The people from Silver City turned pale. They did not dare to say a word and quickly left the fighting ring. Alright, this meeting has ended perfectly. Disciples of the 7th level and above, go back and prepare for the treasure sorting meeting. The Sage State Elder of Dragon God Valley said and stepped into the air. Buzz. At this moment, there was a terrifying fluctuation in the sky. A ray of Saint Light fell from the sky and attacked Lu Ming. This ray of Saint Light was too terrifying. It was like a divine sword and its speed was unbelievable. Danger! Danger! At this moment, Lu Ming sensed a fatal danger. The muscles all over his body tightened and his hair stood on end. His instincts told him to retreat, to dodge, but his body seemed to be frozen in place, unable to move at all. Who is it? The Sage State Elder of Dragon God Valley roared, but it was too late to help. The terrifying ray of Saint Light was about to land on Lu Ming's head. At this moment, there were ripples in the space around Lu Ming like water waves. Poof! The ray of sword light pierced Lu Ming's head. However, Lu Ming's body shattered like glass. It was an afterimage. Then, the space rippled. Lu Ming's body reappeared a few meters away. On Lu Ming's shoulder, Bubble's body glowed as it chirped. It seemed that Lu Ming really thought that he was going to die just now. That was an attack that he couldn't resist. Fortunately, Bubble acted in time. Wang! The pressure in the air grew even stronger. Lu Ming looked up and his pupils shrank. A white figure was walking down from the sky step by step. Son of God. He was the Son of God, who was known as the leader of the top 10 geniuses. Many people were shocked. The Son of God had appeared and even attacked Lu Ming. Could it be that Lu Ming had killed so many people from the Celestial Divine Sect and ruined the Celestial Divine Sect's plan to come in first place? Hence, the Son of God wanted to kill Lu Ming out of anger? A terrifying pressure emanated from the deity's body, pressing down on Lu Ming, Tian Chui, and Xuanixin. It was as if a mountain was pressing down on them. Spacetime domain. It seems that you were the one who secretly sabotaged the Dragon Palace. The Son of God said indifferently as he looked down at Lu Ming coldly. Finally, his gaze fell on Bubble, and a trace of surprise flashed in his eyes. Lu Ming didn't say anything. He knew what the Son of God was talking about. The Son of God was talking about the sabotage of his God-forbidden ancient void talisman in the Dragon Palace. The attack just now was a test. Bubble had used the spacetime domain, which proved that the person who sabotaged the Dragon Palace was Lu Ming. Of course, if it wasn't Lu Ming, the attack just now would have killed Lu Ming. Why would the Son of God care if he killed the wrong person? Then, the Son of God glanced at Tian Chui and Xuanixin and said coldly, "You were the ones who took away the Dragon Palace's treasury?" "Yes, it was us," Lu Ming said. "Treasures depend on luck and wisdom. Those who are fated will get them." What a joke. Luck and wisdom. Everything is in vain in front of absolute power. The Son of God said indifferently. He stood in the air, his body emitting a milky white holy light like a deity. His tone was full of dominance and confidence in his own power. Lu Ming sneered and said with a hint of mockery, "How did that treasure fall into our hands? After I kill you today, the treasure will still be mine." Strong murderous intent burst out from the Son of God's eyes. The Son of God had won first place in 2 consecutive treasure sorting meetings and was the leader of the top 10 prodigies in the Zhangzhou state. Everything he did was smooth sailing. No one could compete with him for any treasure. But last time, in the trip to the Dragon Palace, he suffered many losses. They had used the divine restriction ancient void talisman, but Lu Ming had secretly destroyed it. Later on, they had chased after the Black Real Dragon's corpse, but the Black Real Dragon's corpse had escaped in the end. As for the Dragon Palace treasure house, it had fallen into the hands of Lu Ming and the other 2. Unknowingly, he seemed to have suffered a great loss in front of Lu Ming and the other 2. Therefore, he had to kill Lu Ming and the other 2, especially Lu Ming. The surrounding people had different expressions, but they all understood that Lu Ming and the Son of God must have had a conflict because of an opportunity. And from the looks of it, the Son of God was at a disadvantage. No wonder his murderous intent was so strong. Lu Ming actually offended the Son of God. Serves him right. Serves him right. Not far away, Hiyu, Silver City, and the others were shouting in their hearts. They gloated and wanted the Son of God to kill Lu Ming immediately. Boom! Holy light shone from the Son of God's body. Endless holy light condensed into a long sword that stood between heaven and earth. Its vast power made many youths tremble. Swoosh! The terrifying sword light slashed violently toward Lu Ming. At this moment, black wings appeared behind Lu Ming's back and a shield appeared in front of him. Tian Chui and Xuanixin both took out their holy weapons. How could they just sit and wait? Stop! The Saintess Elder of Dragon God Valley roared. She stepped in the air like a true dragon and reached out a dragon claw toward the sword light. Boom! Heaven and earth roared. The dragon claw and the sword light dissipated. Old man, why are you meddling in the affairs of the younger generation? The Saintess Elder of Heavenly God sect rushed out from the pavilion and slammed his palm toward the Saintess Elder of Dragon God Valley. The 2 of them clashed, and the sky trembled. Their bodies shook and stood in opposite directions. Vast Saintess aura filled the air as the 2 of them faced each other. Go away! The Saintess Elder of Dragon God Valley shouted. I told you, why are you meddling in the affairs of the younger generation? Let them settle it themselves. The Saintess Elder of Heavenly God sect sneered. That's right. The treasure auction has ended. We old men have no reason to meddle in the affairs of the younger generation. The Saintess Elder of Heavenly Universe Demon sect said coldly. Then, the Saintess Elder of Desire Poison sect also appeared. He locked onto the Saintess Elder of Dragon God Valley to prevent him from meddling. The Saintess Elder of Dragon God Valley looked terrible. These people were determined to kill Lu Ming here. Is the Heavenly God sect such a sore loser? Seeing that Dragon God Valley and Lu Ming won first place, you want to send people to kill Lu Ming. Are you allowed to win but not others? Chapter 1552. Nonsense. The Sage Realm Elder of the Celestial God sect shouted and looked at Qiu Yingying coldly. Qiu Yingying raised her head stubbornly and looked back at him. That's right. The Celestial God sect is such a sore loser. If you had said so earlier, we wouldn't have competed with you. We would have given you the first place. That's right. Let the other sects not participate. Tell the world that the celestial god sect is the first in the world. The other disciples of the Dragon God Valley also shouted and glared at the deity and the sage realm elder of the celestial god sect. They directly said that the deity wanted to kill Lu Ming because Lu Ming had won first place. That was why the celestial god sect wanted to kill Lu Ming. Shut up. The deity shouted coldly. His voice was like thunder, and a terrifying aura pressed down on the disciples of the Dragon God Valley. The disciples of the Dragon God Valley were shocked, as if a mountain was pressing down on them, making it hard for them to breathe. I, the deity, have never needed a reason to kill. But today, I will give you one. The deity said indifferently. Because they have done something they shouldn't have done. Therefore, they must die. Even if today's meeting didn't happen, they must die. Hee, what do you mean by something you shouldn't have done? Didn't you just let a few people with lower cultivation than you take away your treasures? Deity, how dare you kill people? A deep voice was heard. In the void, a purple light flashed and a figure appeared in the sky. Zifeng. The demon of the Dragon God Valley, Zifeng. You want to stop me? The deity looked at Zifeng coldly. If you want to kill the people of the Dragon God Valley, we must fight. Zifeng replied. You are no match for me. The deity said coldly. We haven't fought for 3 years. Not necessarily. Zifeng said with a strong fighting spirit in his eyes. Is that so? Then I will kill you first. The deity was very aggressive. He took a step forward and the world rumbled. Terrifying saint light shot up into the sky and turned into a snow-white saint sword, slashing towards Zifeng. Roar! Zifeng let out a loud roar, and the sound of a dragon's roar reverberated in the air. Purple light radiated from his body, and dense purple dragon scales appeared on his skin. 2 dragon horns actually sprouted from his forehead. As for Zifeng's hands, they transformed into dragon claws. With a roar, Zifeng charged at the Son of God. His claws continued to claw out, shattering the Son of God's holy blade. Holy light slash. The divine child's expression remained calm. He clenched his fist in the air and holy light coalesced into a holy blade, slashing at Zifeng. Boom! Boom! The 2 monstrous geniuses continued to fight in the air, exchanging more than 10 moves. The sky seemed to be divided into white and purple. The oppressive pressure made it difficult for people to breathe. How terrifying! Is this the power of the top 10 monstrous geniuses? It's amazing. I've seen semi-sage experts fight before. But, they weren't as strong as this. They can easily kill an ordinary semi-sage expert, right? How terrifying. How could someone below the saint realm reach such a level? Many people cried out, feeling extremely shocked. Even the sage realm elders had grave expressions on their faces. Clearly, these saint realm experts had no choice but to pay attention to such combat prowess. The sky was completely covered by white and purple light. 2 figures were crisscrossing each other. Occasionally, dragon roars could be heard. Boom! Suddenly, there was a terrifying tremor in the sky. A figure quickly retreated, taking dozens of steps back in the air before coming to a stop. It was Zifeng. At this moment, there was a deep cut on Zifeng's body that went straight to his bones. There was a terrifying power of holy light that was constantly eroding Zifeng's body. There was a trace of blood at the corner of Zifeng's mouth. His aura was somewhat weak. Could it be that Zifeng was defeated? In the air, the Son of God strolled out. His clothes were neat and tidy, and his aura was stable. It didn't seem like he had just experienced a great battle. Everyone was shocked. It seemed that the Son of God had won, and it didn't seem like a difficult victory. The Son of God was indeed the leader of the top 10 monstrous geniuses of the Tsang state. Although they were both top 10 monstrous geniuses, Zifeng didn't seem to be a match for the Son of God. I've said it before. You're no match for me. Today, I want to kill the three of them. No one can save them. The Son of God said, full of confidence. No one could save whoever he wanted to kill. This was the dominance of the Son of God. Originally, if he wanted to kill Lu Ming and the other two, he could have chosen to do it elsewhere. That way, there would be less resistance and it would be easier. However, he chose to do it here because he was that domineering. He wanted to kill Lu Ming and the other two in front of everyone to build his reputation. Ha ha ha. At this moment, Lu Ming laughed. His laughter was full of mockery. What are you laughing at? The Son of God said coldly. I'm laughing at you, Son of God. You want to kill me only because you're afraid. Why do you have to find so many high-sounding reasons? Lu Ming laughed. I'm afraid. What a joke. What do you have that makes me afraid? The Son of God said. Because of my potential. Today, you've seen my potential. You're afraid that I'll catch up to you in the future. You're afraid that I'll take the first place in the treasure sorting convention 3 years later. That's why you're afraid. You're afraid of my potential. That's why you want to kill me today to prevent future troubles. Lu Ming said loudly. The words caused the hearts of many to shudder. The potential that Lu Ming had displayed this time was indeed shocking. With a cultivation of the fourth-layer martial emperor realm, he had defeated and killed 10 top experts consecutively and obtained the first place in the treasure ordering party. In the history of the Tsang continent, there had never been such a shocking achievement since the treasure ordering party was established. Lu Ming did have the potential to be a threat to the Son of God. Lu Ming's cultivation was still weak now, but in another 6 or 9 years, would he be able to defeat the Son of God? Could it be that the Son of God was not afraid at all? Such a thought emerged in many people's minds. The Son of God wore a cold expression as he said, You will never be my match. I have no match in the Tsangzhou continent. My opponents are outside of the Tsangzhou continent. The Son of God spoke with great confidence. Among his peers in the Tsangzhou continent, there was no one worthy of his attention. He had set his sights outside of the Tsangzhou continent to compete with the peerless geniuses outside of the Tsangzhou continent. Even the terrifying geniuses of the monarch forces were his match. Since you are so confident, I will challenge you now. In 3 years, at the treasure sorting convention, we will fight to the death. Do you dare? Lu Ming said loudly, his voice echoing throughout the entire place. Lu Ming's voice was also filled with great confidence. He had also come this far by stepping over the bodies of countless geniuses. He was also confident that he was invincible. The Son of God had a better background. He had been cultivating in the heavenly god sect of Yuanlu since he was young. The cultivation environment there was much better than Lu Ming's. Moreover, the Son of God was at least 7 or 8 years older than Lu Ming. Now, the Son of God's cultivation was much higher than his, which was why he could look down on him from the sky. However, he was confident that in a few years, he would be able to catch up to the Son of God and stand in front of him as an equal. He would not be looked down upon like he was now. Chapter 1553. The deity stood in the air and looked down at Lu Ming. He did not change his mind because of Lu Ming's words. His eyes were filled with killing intent. Huh, what a joke. What kind of provocation is this? You are clearly afraid. Or rather, the celestial sect is afraid that I will grow stronger. So, they sent you here to find a reason to kill me. Otherwise, why would they not even dare to accept my challenge? Lu Ming said. No matter how glib your tongue is, you will still die today. The deity shouted coldly. Holy light burst out and formed a holy light blade that illuminated the area. Roar! Xiaofan let out a dragon's roar and charged at the deity. Get lost! The Sage Realm Elder of Dragon God Valley roared. He wanted to help Xiaofan, but he was blocked by the Sage Realm Elders of the Celestial Sect. In addition, the Elders of the Desire Poison Sect were glaring at him. Let's go! Lu Ming sent a message to Tian Shui and Xuanixin and prepared to retreat. However, at this moment, the clouds in the sky surged and a foot appeared in the void. This foot was like the foot of a giant. It was huge and came down from the sky, stomping down on the deity. Who is it? The deity roared. Holy light burst out and he slammed his palm into the sky, forming a holy light palm print that blasted towards the giant foot. However, when the palm print came into contact with the giant foot, it collapsed. The giant foot did not stop and continued to stomp on the deity. The deity roared and a white jade pagoda appeared on his body. The white jade pagoda expanded and a vast sage realm aura burst out. Boom! The giant foot stomped on the white jade pagoda. The pagoda shook violently and the light shield on the pagoda collapsed. Bam! The deity's body fell like a meteorite and crashed heavily on the fighting ring. A terrifying roar came from the fighting ring and cracks appeared on it. One should know that the fighting ring was extremely hard. Lu Ming and the others had not been able to leave a mark on the fighting ring, but now, the fighting ring had cracked. The deity's face was pale and he spat out a mouthful of blood. He struggled to get up and his hair danced in the wind. He was filled with killing intent as he stared at the sky. A burly figure appeared in the sky and stepped down. The figure seemed to be in his 30s. He had a burly figure and was emitting a vast aura. Third senior brother, it's third senior brother. Third senior brother is here. That's great. Tian Shui and Xuanixin shouted excitedly when they saw the man. Third senior brother? Lu Ming's heart stirred. His master, the Valley Master of the Cloud Dragon Valley, had a total of 9 true disciples. However, Lu Ming had only met his second senior brother, Long Yuanshan, Tian Shui, and Xuanixin. He had not met any of the other senior brothers and sisters. It was said that this third senior brother, Yang Tianzong, had broken through to the Saint Realm more than 10 years ago. He often went out to train. Who would have thought that he would appear here? 7th junior brother, 8th junior sister, long time no see. Yang Tian, Zhang Tian and Xuanixin nodded. They then looked at Lu Ming and said, "This must be junior brother. You are indeed a dragon among men." Lu Ming greets third senior brother. Lu Ming cupped his fists at Yang Tianzong. Ha ha ha, there's no need to be so polite. Let's settle this first. Yang Tianzong laughed and looked at the deity. He sneered and said, "You are very arrogant. Come, let me see what you can do." Boom! Yang Tianzong took a step forward and a terrifying aura emanated from his body. It was the aura of a sage, the aura of a sage. The terrifying aura of a sage pressed down on the deity. At the same time, Yang Tianzong stretched out his hand and a huge dragon claw appeared, grabbing at the deity. Whoosh! A terrifying demonic saber slashed out from the side. A combat sword made of poisonous gas pierced through the void and collided with the dragon claw, blocking it. At the same time, 2 elders appeared in front of Yang Tianzong. They were the Sage Realm Elders of the Desire Poison Sect and the Sky Universe Demon Sect. This is a matter of the younger generation. Why are you, a sage, interfering? Let them settle it themselves. If you want to fight, I will accompany you. The Elder of the Sky Universe Demon Sect said coldly. The Elder of the Desire Poison Sect did not say anything, but his attitude said it all. His body was filled with poisonous gas that kept rolling. Two old men, I will deal with you first. Yang Tianzong's eyes turned cold as he roared like a dragon. Dragon scales appeared on his arms as he took a step forward and charged towards the Saint Realm elders of the Desire Poison sect and the Sky Universe Demon sect. Kill! Kill! The elders of the Desire Poison sect and the Sky Universe Demon sect shouted as they charged at Yang Tianzong with terrifying auras. Boom! 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 There were 5 to 6 explosions in the sky. Then, the crowd saw two figures frantically retreating. Their bodies were trembling and there was a claw mark on each of their bodies. Their bodies were almost pierced through and their bodies were covered in blood. They had lost. The two Sage Realm elders of the Desire Poison sect and the Sky Universe Demon sect had joined forces and attacked together. However, they had been defeated in just 5 to 6 moves. They had been injured by Yang Tianzong and their clothes were stained with blood. The difference in their combat strength was too great. This time, I will spare your lives. Next time, I will kill you. Yang Tianzong said coldly. The two Sage Realm elders of the Desire Poison sect and the Sky Universe Demon sect had ugly expressions on their faces. However, there was fear in their eyes. Also, let me correct you on one thing. I am still a few years away from 50 years old. Therefore, I am still part of the younger generation. As for cultivation, this kid is a sage-to-be and he is 7 to 8 years older than my junior brother. If he can attack my junior brother, why can't I attack him? Having said that, Yang Tianzong looked at the deity's son again. Boom! Yang Tianzong suddenly took a step forward and a giant foot that looked exactly like Yang Tianzong appeared in the sky and stomped down on the deity's son again. The deity's son shouted as he tried to block the attack with his holy weapon. However, he was almost flattened by the attack. He knelt on the ground and vomited blood. Don't you think that you are strong? Aren't you just trash in front of me? Yang Tianzong mocked. You have only cultivated for 10 more years than me. If you give me 10 more years, no, 5 more years, I will be able to stomp you under my feet. The deity's son shouted angrily as his eyes turned red. He was the deity's son and he was extremely talented. Ever since he rose to power, he had been surrounded by many people. He had never been humiliated like this before. He had knelt on the ground in front of everyone. At that moment, he was furious. He wanted to kill Yang Tianzong and everyone else who had witnessed the scene. You are not qualified to challenge me. If you want to challenge me, you will have to defeat my junior brother in 3 years' time. If you can defeat my junior brother, I will give you a chance to challenge me. Yang Tianzong sneered. All right. The deity's son shouted as he looked at Lu Ming. Lu Ming, I accept your challenge. We will fight at the treasure sorting meeting in 3 years' time. I will take your life in 3 years' time. Lu Ming said coldly. Ha ha ha, how arrogant of you. However, let me tell you this. I will definitely break through to the Saint Realm in 3 years' time. If you want to challenge me, you will have to defeat my junior brother and pass the treasure sorting meeting. Only then will you be qualified to challenge me. The deity's son said coldly as he regained his confidence. He firmly believed that he would not be defeated. Chapter 1554. The Divine Son will break through to the Saint Realm in 3 years. Many people were shocked. However, it was normal. The Divine Son had been in the Sage-to-be realm for almost 10 years. With his talent, it would not be difficult for him to break through to the Saint Realm. Once he broke through to the Saint Realm, his status would be completely different. He would truly enter the upper echelons of the Zhangzhou state. At the same time, he would not be able to participate in the treasure sorting convention. No one else would have a chance if a sage-to-be participated in the treasure sorting convention. In other words, if Lu Ming wanted to challenge the Divine Sun, he would have to pass the treasure sorting convention. If he was killed at the treasure sorting convention, there would be no way to challenge him. In 3 years, Lu Ming won't stand a chance. Someone shook his head and sighed. That's right. He won't stand a chance. Others shook their heads. Lu Ming was only in the LV4 martial royal realm. In 3 years, no matter how fast Lu Ming improved, it would be extremely fast for him to reach the LV8 or even the LV9 martial royal realm. However, what was the use of reaching the LV8 or LV9 martial royal realm? How could he fight with the Divine Sun? Even if the Divine Sun was still in the Sage-to-be realm, Lu Ming would not be his match. Once the Divine Sun broke through to the Saint realm, Lu Ming would not stand a chance. It was not impossible for someone to become a Sage-to-be before reaching the Saint realm. Since ancient times, not many people had been able to do so. Every one of those people was a terrifying genius whose name shook the world. Then I'll let you live for 3 more years. The Divine Sun said coldly. Then, without saying anything else, he turned and left. He turned into a beam of saint light and disappeared. Let's go. The Saint Realm Elder of the Celestial God Sect shouted and left. The disciples of the Celestial God Sect hurriedly followed and left. After the people of the Celestial God Sect left, the people of the Sky Universe Demon Sect and the Poison Sect also left. Then, the people of the other sects also left. Lu Ming, if there's a chance, let's fight again in the future. Luo Xiang from the Life and Death Sword Sect said loudly. Okay, let's fight another day. Lu Ming said. Goodbye. Luo Xiang cupped his fists and left. Thank you for your help, third senior brother. Lu Ming, Tian Chui, and Xuaningxin cupped their fists at Yang Tianzong. You and I are brothers, there's no need to be so courteous. This time, I just happened to pass by Tsang Mountain and wanted to take a look. I didn't expect to encounter something like this. Yang Tianzong laughed heartily. Third senior brother, youngest junior brother defeated and killed 10 prodigies with superior earthly spiritual bodies all by himself and won first place in the treasure sorting party. Xuaning thought. Oh. Amazing, amazing. Little junior brother is truly blessed by the heavens. It's still master who has good taste. Yang Tianzong's eyes lit up. He hadn't been here for long, so he didn't know that Lu Ming had won first place at the treasure ordering convention. Senior brother, you flatter me. After that, everyone chatted as they flew toward the Dragon God Valley. Among the crowd of Dragon God Valley, Hiyu, Silver City, and the others were filled with unwillingness. Damn it, even under such circumstances, Lu Ming managed to escape. Hiyu cursed in his heart. Soon, everyone returned to the Dragon God Valley. Junior brother, junior sister, you've had a great battle. You should go back to your rooms to heal. Yang Tianzong said. Tian Chui and Xuanning nodded. They had been severely injured in the previous battle and were far from recovering. Many of the other disciples of Dragon God Valley were also injured and had returned to their rooms to heal. Everyone returned to their rooms. When Lu Ming returned to his room, he took out a pile of origin stones and devoured them to recover his true origin. Half a day later, Lu Ming had fully recovered. At this moment, Lu Ming waved his hand and a few storage rings appeared in his hand. He had obtained all of them from killing his opponents at the treasure sorting party. Lu Ming began to count them. When he was done, Lu Ming was overjoyed. This time, he had gained a lot. One should know that the people he had killed were all prodigies and were extremely wealthy. Needless to say, there were hundreds of millions of origin stones. There were also dozens of spiritual weapons of the emperor level. There were even as many as 6 sacred weapons. In particular, there were 3 sky-piercing flying shuttles. The 3 sky-piercing flying shuttles were found in the storage rings of the 3 top prodigies, Mo He and Wu Qiandu. It was really a case of searching high and low for something, only to find it by chance. Lu Ming had always wanted to buy a sky-piercing flying shuttle. He did not expect to obtain 3 at once. Lu Ming picked one, erased the mark of its original owner, and began to refine it. It was very easy to refine the sky-piercing flying shuttle. In less than a day, Lu Ming had refined it. The sky-piercing flying shuttle floated above Lu Ming's palm and changed its size according to Lu Ming's will. After playing with it for a while, Lu Ming put away the sky-piercing flying shuttle and took out the flowing element gloves to refine it. In the blink of an eye, another 3 days had passed. In the past few days, news of what had happened at the Treasure Ding Ding convention had quickly spread throughout the Tsang Mountain. Furthermore, it had spread to the entire Tsang province at an extremely fast speed. Lu Ming's name shook everyone's heart. The most talked about in this competition was Lu Ming's name. He had defeated and killed 10 top prodigies all by himself and obtained first place. In the end, he had challenged the God Sun. 3 years later, he would fight the God Sun to the death. Although no one was optimistic about Lu Ming's chances, believing that Lu Ming would be able to fight the God Sun in 3 years, many people remembered the name Lu Ming. 3 days later, the flowing element gloves were refined by Lu Ming. With a thought, the flowing element gloves turned into liquid and wrapped around Lu Ming's right palm. As Lu Ming injected his true yuan, the flowing element gloves became heavier and heavier. In the end, even Lu Ming's arm was trembling slightly. So heavy, so heavy. Coupled with the primal chaos domain and the hell-suppressing heaven skill, how terrifying would the power of this punch be? Lu Ming's eyes were filled with anticipation. He couldn't wait to find an expert to test it out. With a thought, the flowing element gloves seemed to come alive and burrowed into Lu Ming's skin, disappearing without a trace. With a thought, it would reappear again. It was very convenient to use. It's time to leave. Lu Ming muttered under his breath. There were still 5 days before the start of the treasure sorting assembly, but Lu Ming planned to leave and return to the Dragon God Valley to cultivate in seclusion. After all, he had seen the strength of the God Sun, Zifeng, Wang Jian, and the rest of the top 10 prodigies of Tsang State. There was no point in staying and watching the treasure sorting assembly. It was better to seize the time and cultivate. For Lu Ming, time was the most important thing. Lu Ming got up and walked out to find Tian Chui. "Junior brother, you're leaving?" Tian Chui asked in surprise. "Yes, I came to the treasure sorting assembly to see the strength of the top 10 prodigies of Tsang State. Now that I've seen it, there's no point in staying any longer. So, I plan to return to the Dragon God Valley." You're tuning into the Xiaofan's Wuxia Tales YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.